even matter anymore.
Nope.
Someone sent us a post on X, a link to a post.
Mm-hmm.
Todd Golden is going to be so pissed when he finds out the Sweet 16 is the next round and not a birthday party.
Whoa! Wow. Spitz, is that because he wouldn't say it was a travel? Coffin Bot's probably the most famous 2 many men on the ice since Don Cherry and the Bruins.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this Monday where the Sweet 16 is set. How's your bracket look? How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Thanks so much for being with us. Mark, I know you're not well rested because, well, they had Michigan State play New Mexico about as late as they could have them play it last night. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Couldn't be any better. In a great mood. Played badly and moved on. You're going to have a clunker in this tournament. Can you win when you play your bad game? The Florida Gators played their bad game. They beat Connecticut. Michigan State played their bad game. They were able to move on and beat New Mexico. Some other teams played their bad game, and they're playing golf this morning. Hello, St. John's.
Hello, Iowa State. Yes. So that is true. I don't know if the Gators were bad yesterday. I'll give UConn a little bit of credit. All right. And hey, listen, Mark, At this rate, I'll do anything for a good game in this damn tournament.
Whoa.
I mean, I the fact that there's not a ton of upsets, that's fine. Okay, but man, there have been few really good games late. Wow. I mean, it's ironic because what was the very first game of the tournament? The first 4 game with the Hail Mary pass and layup with less than a second to go to win it.
Yeah,
And
it's
we're
still
like-
a top 3 game so far in the tournament, David.
Yeah, maybe top 2. And
Thank
finally,
goodness for Colorado State and Maryland giving us
Yep.
a terrific game yesterday.
by the way, this just in to the Maryland coach, since you have at least one more game left in your season. When it's late and you have a foul to give it. Give it. They're running their best play. Give it. Make them side inbounds it and at least run their second best play. But that was fun, at least.
It was. And, I will say right away in the Twitch chat room, this is usually David's job to instantly respond to every comment in the Twitch chat room. I'm going to, because Ryan in the Twitch chat room, St. John's in Arkansas was a good game. Was it? Was it really a good game in which the team shot 4 of 41 from beyond the 3-point line? You explain to me how that's good basketball. It was a rock fight. Now, it was a competitive rock fight, but it wasn't good basketball. It was lousy basketball.
In fact, I thought the stat weren't there 90 missed shots in the game?
90 missed shots.
Yeah, it was horrendous basketball. It was close. 2-point game with 3 minutes to go, but it was horrendous.
That reminded me of the last Florida State-Miami football game that you and I went to all those years ago in the OB. We ran to the car, and it was really close, and we drove about 5 minutes, and I looked over at you, and I went, that game really sucked, didn't it? And you went, yes, it did.
Yes, it did. But it was Miami and Florida State at the old Orange Bowl, and it was close at the end. So, you had this great feeling, but the quality was awful. Just awful. And man, we have not had a lot of close games, and I don't know how good the quality has been. But hey, we're down to the big boys now. I mean, there is not even a mid-major to be found. Colorado State was the last shot for a mid-major to make it to the Sweet 16. This is the first time since they've gone to the 64-plus field that only 4 conferences are left playing in the Sweet 16. 7 SEC, 4 Big 10, 4 Big 12, and Duke.
And you enjoy Cinderella more than I do. I enjoy Cinderella. I like seeing them win. I want them out by the Sweet 16 so the best teams are playing. But I want competitive games. This tournament has been largely one-sided, game in, game out. We haven't had a lot of close games, unfortunately. And maybe we'll get them this coming weekend. Maybe this tournament will be unlike most tournaments in which the first 4 days produce all this magic and then things are what they are. Maybe this tournament, the first 4 days didn't produce a whole hell of a lot of magic, but maybe the Sweet 16 round will provide us with great basketball. One can only hope.
But we're down to the Sweet 16. How does your bracket look? I mean, unless you had St. John's going on a deep run, I mean, whose bracket is messed up right now? I mean, we lost what? St. John's as a 2, Iowa State and Wisconsin is 3s, and A&M is a 4? I mean, those are the only top 4 seeds that didn't advance to the Sweet 16. I mean, I've got to think a lot of people feel they can win their office pool right now or whatever pool they're in.
I'll need to be right a lot for the rest of the way. I mean, I'm still in it. I think I've got 12 of 16 Sweet 16 teams left.
Well, you should. I mean, it's the chalkiest bracket of all time. I mean, you should at least be in contention.
Yeah, I'm sure that I am.
Plus, you and I only had St. John's going to the Sweet 16. We had Texas Tech taking them out in the next round. So, St. John's losing in the second round doesn't do us much damage. It does a few people we know a lot of damage. They were on the Johnnies. Yeah. It's tough to ride teams who you absolutely know. And Mark, this is my fear about your Spartans. And maybe the second round was enough. And they'll play better the rest of the way. But it is really difficult to ride teams who they will have at least one performance where they're standing in the water and they can't hit it. No matter how good defensively they are, no matter how hard they play.
Oh, I'm with you. Hey, look that's what happened to St. John's. They have moments in which they can't shoot the basketball. That moment appeared on Saturday afternoon. They couldn't make a shot.
And also, unlike most tournaments, this is not a tournament where taking the points is a winner. In the first round, I believe it was 2-2 in the first four, 7-9 the first day, went either 6-10 or 7-9 the second day. So you're looking at 16-20, maybe 15-21 if you took the points through the first four in the first round of the NCAA tournament. That is totally against the norm.
My little system that I shared with you last week, taking the underdog in the 8-9 game, cost you the juice. It went 2-2. 2 underdogs won outright. 2 favorites won outright and covered. So our system's struggling in the tourney.
Yeah. An abnormal tournament, therefore, the normal rules not applying well. But here we are with mostly chalk in the Sweet 16. Knock on wood. Does that mean we get a great second weekend? I mean, who was the guest we had on last week who thought that basically we were going to have 1s versus 2s and or 1s versus 3s the second weekend, in which he's just like, I just think the field this year is really top heavy and there's no way to avoid it.
And that looks like what we have in the tournament. What do we have? A 1, 2, 3, and 4. A 1, 2, 4, and 6. 1, 2, 5, 6. I mean, this is pretty much running according to Hoyle with these brackets. And we very well could end up with a bunch of 1s and 2s, with the exception of Florida's region where St. John's got bounced, the only 2 not left in the tournament.
No 13, 14, 15, or 16 seed won a game, 1 double-digit seed in the Sweet 16, and that's Arkansas.
And they don't count.
I think they count. I mean, they started 0-5 in conference play. I do love Calipari's line.
Consider Arkansas a Cinderella.
No. I didn't say Cinderella. All I said was double-digit seed. I mean, they were not worthy of a single-digit seeding. They were a 10 or an 11.
Exactly.
Right. So, I mean, they've earned it. It's kind of like, Boeheim's last run. I think his Syracuse team was an 11, and he ends up going to the Final Four. And they were a borderline tournament team that year. That's all they deserved. And then what they did after that, well, hats off. I do love John Cal's line in which he said, they put us in the coffin. They just forgot to nail it shut. Yes, they did, John. Yes, they did.
And a classic matchup between coaches, and they certainly coached. A lot of defense in St. John's, Arkansas.
Whew. Whew. But the Gators are through. UConn, they let it all hang out there. They played like a two-time defending champions. They gave the Gators a game, and afterwards tipped their hat, shook their hand, and said, job well done. Might as well finish it from here, boys.
I do like that if Florida does win the whole thing, and a lot of people picked him, both David and I did, that the two-time defending champs gave them the game that they did.
Mm-hmm.
Like the old fighter.
Yep.
You've got to take the title from us. We
Yep.
are not going to give it to you. We're going to go out fighting. And UConn did. No doubt in that game. But the Gators, some second half heroics, their best player making the big shots, and the Gators survive and advance. That's the story this time of year.
Miller and Moulton. A lot went on over the weekend. It was a very dramatic weekend in other sports. We'll recap it for you. We've got a few guests as well. The starting five is 25 minutes away on Miller and Moulton. Miller and Moulton are very grateful to you, the listeners, for making us one of the highest rated shows for men, because the working man is one of the toughest demos to reach, and we do. Great sponsors like Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Sleep Treatment Direct, Game Day Men's Health, and Molly Maid recognize that, and we thank them. And if you own a business and working men are your clientele, the most cost-effective way to reach them is through us. Text Miller and Moulton at 21,000 or directly via X at that Mark Miller or the David
For
Moulton.
over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, Paul, I'm on the other side of that. I'm not sure who's more annoying, Calipari's daughter or Belichick's girlfriend.
Taco Fall was 7-6. The Florida kid 7-9. DC, I saw it when it happened. Yeah. And then she broke out the photo that she took a few years ago standing next to Taco Fall. Yeah, Tracy is little.
She wasn't that excited to do an interview since she got to do us Dusty May after Michigan won the Big Ten.
Back in the day, Tracy with Les Miles was always a good interview.
Yep.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Starting 5 in a little more than 15 minutes time. Steve Carney. Talk a little Rays and a little Lightning. Rays dodged a huge bullet over the weekend. Season gets underway this week. Mike Miller from, Field of 68. We'll talk some hoops. And coming up in a little more than 2 hours, Dan Canobbio to talk some boxing or some George Foreman. And that hit Miller and Moulton. That hit hard Friday night. That was a boom. That was a bummer.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
You hit me out of left field with that one. I was locked into my tournament games, paying attention to nothing but the world of college basketball when I received a text from one David Moulton that simply said, George Foreman, 76.
Yep.
And David and I have been texting each other things like that for many years now when the passing of a actor, musician, or athlete happens. And that one, I responded with simply an expletive because that's how I felt. That we all know it's coming for a lot of these great icons. It's part of what happens, but everyone hits you a little differently. George Foreman, what a career in and out of boxing.
The only other person that I can think of, and I'm sure there are many, I just can't think of them. But to me, Foreman reminded me a little of John Madden. You know, when John Madden passed a few years ago around Christmas, Mark, what is the one thing that more generations did not know John Madden from?
Coaching.
What is it that most generations, if they're familiar with George Foreman, what is it they didn't see him do?
Box. And
Now,
certainly never saw him box in his heyday. They saw Act 2, which was an incredible run by someone at an age who wasn't supposed to do what he did. But it certainly wasn't the heyday of Foreman's boxing career.
And to really date Miller and Moulton, when I was thinking Friday night about George, You know, Mark, first off, it's when we used to have boxing in this country, but also the mid and late 80s, there was a phenomenon taking place. It was the Tuesday night fights on USA Network. Because in the mid 80s, for about a year and a half, you had this up and coming heavyweight named Mike Tyson. And he would appear on USA Network every 3-4 weeks and destroy someone. Well, George Foreman began his comeback and he fought seemingly on USA Network for 2 years. And, I mean, whether they were tomato cans or not, I mean, that's where he was fighting when he came back and decided, yeah, I want to fight. And, people didn't take him seriously. It's like, well, I got to fight.
But of all the things for George Foreman that, to be honest, most people remember, it's the George Foreman grill.
Right.
And the George Foreman grill, if you do not know this story, was almost not the George Foreman grill.
Right.
Because the manager of one Hulk Hogan called him with some investment opportunities. Sam Worthington was the guy's name. Said, you should get into these things. Kitchen's appliance. Put your name on it. The Hulk said, what have you got? The manager said, well, I've got this meatball maker. It pounds the meatball when you clench the arm muscles and put the fist together. The Hulk went, that's fantastic. I want the Hulkamania meatball maker. And the manager says, what about the other thing? He goes, give that to your other client. The other thing was the George Foreman grill. He made
$100 million.
Over $200 million. His net worth was over $200 million, largely because of the George Foreman grill.
Didn't they sell 100 million of them? And B, didn't he sell the company for 9 figures?
Yes.
Remarkable.
Yeah. 100 million of those things. My wife had one when we met. She had a George Foreman grill. When we moved in together, I said, get rid of that thing. We're never going to use that in my house.
Oh, come on. So I was too young to remember down goes Frazier, down goes Frazier. I just, what was that, 73? I think I was 7. And obviously knew of the rope-a-dope, even though I was 8 for that. I do remember, though, George Foreman and Ron Lyle. For whatever reason, that fight was on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and I was in my room, and I watched that fight. Ron Lyle knocked George Foreman down twice and got knocked out. They knocked each other down in, like, the 4th round. An amazing fight. When the heavyweight division was Ali, Frazier, Norton, Lyle, Foreman, Shavers, Mike Weaver. I mean, it was an unbelievable when boxing was boxing. I do remember where I was, though, when he took out Moorer. And he's getting beat. I mean, he had a good second round, and, he had his moments where he hit him, but he couldn't follow up. And Moorer just has to, make it to the finish line. He's going to win this fight. He's going to retain his title. I was at a bar, and he caught him with a combo and stood him straight up. And I thought, I think he's hurt. And Moorer just kind of pretended like he wasn't hurt and went back, like a foot or so, and he regrouped. And Foreman hit him with that combo again, and boom. And you remember where you are when, like, buzzer beaters happen, certain things happen. Mark, the place I was at exploded when Moorer hit the canvas. And Jim Lampley with the epic call. It happened. It happened.
And what a resurgence for a little while that gave boxing.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and then Lennox Lewis took over and, you know, what have you. But, you know, and then Foreman, the boxing announcer. Once again, though, you had to be watching boxing, and people haven't really done that for a long time. Plus, didn't he name like all his sons George?
There you go. There you go. I mean, like he had a bunch, but I believe like 6 or 7 of his kids were named George.
George, right. And I think a couple of the daughters were like Georgina or something. Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
An absolute larger than life character, though.
And it's remarkable because the 68 Olympics, that was the Mexico City, the Black Power Olympics, controversial. And George Foreman, when he won the heavyweight title, the gold medal, he walked around the ring carrying a U.S. flag on a small stick. And it made him very popular with a large section of, you know, folks back in the States. But by the time he was fighting Ali, he was this gruff, you know, didn't show any personality guy, and everybody was rooting for Ali. And then he comes back and he's the pitch man and he's the lovable, fat, old guy, and he wins the title.
Defining a new era in Men's Health. Get stronger and healthier at Game Day Men's Health. With our in-house laboratory, get in, get treated, and get back to your passion and purpose. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs or Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for a 10% discount on your service. Start living your best with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks lie peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Oh, yeah, the Valspar. I like the Valspar. I like the course.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes until the top of the hour. Steve Carney to join us 1 hour from now. Mike Miller to talk hoops at the top of the 8 a.m. Eastern hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. We'll come up with a poll question. Right now, it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is The Starting Five.
And we start with the chalkiest of tournaments. 12 of the top 16 seeds advanced to the Sweet 16, including all 4 number ones. The only 4 teams that by seeding should not still be playing: number 5, Michigan, 2 6 seeds, BYU and Ole Miss, and a 10 seed, Arkansas. Just 4 conferences remain: 7 from the SEC, 4 from the Big 10 and Big 12, and Duke representing the ACC. This is the first time ever there's not at least an 11 seed in the Sweet 16, and we've never had so few conferences represented in the Sweet 16. Some saying, Mark, this is the future, that the mid-majors are in trouble because they're going to keep losing their best players to the bigger money power conference schools who, once they show their stuff, I mean, what are there, 3 FAU players from the team that went to the Final Four still?
You just led me to that. Yes, there are 3.
So do we think that this is the exception, or it's going to become the rule?
I think it's going to become the rule. I think the days of the mid-major and the low major are done.
And I say give it a year or so, and some mid-majors will make the financial commitment so that they can keep their best guys. But it's going to take a year, because they're going to first have to swallow hard and realize how much money that's going to take. Florida, they got past UConn. They'll face Maryland, who advanced with the only buzzer beater of the tournament, 72-71 over Colorado State. Florida, Maryland, Sweet 16, Thursday night, 7:40 on TBS. The Gators continue their run. Texas is about to hire Xavier Sean Miller. What's funny about this is that Texas was prepared to hire him when they got rid of Chris Beard in the middle of the season 3 seasons ago. The problem was the interim head coach took him to the Elite Eight. So they're like, blank, we can't get rid of him. He just took us to the Elite Eight. So they kept him around for a couple years, and now they got rid of him, and they could take that contract out of the drawer and give it to Sean Miller, who I think at the time was at Arizona, and now he's with Xavier before he goes to Texas. And NC State made it official. They hired Will Wade. The presser will be tomorrow. The manager, the guy with the 3 NIL endorsements, he's apparently following Will Wade to Raleigh. I love it. Women's tournament, 2-1, South Carolina and UCLA advance to the Sweet 16. Texas and USC will try to join them later today. Both South Florida and FGCU got beat in the first round. Florida State, the only Florida school still left, they take on Kim Mulkey and LSU at 6 o'clock tonight on ESPN. By the way, a couple of other college stories. The Women's College Hockey National Championship. Ohio State had a 3-2 lead on Wisconsin. A defenseman put her hand on the puck in the crease. It wasn't called. Wisconsin challenged it with 20 seconds to go. They decided, that's a penalty shot. And they scored on the penalty shot to force overtime and then won the Natty in OT 4-3. And that was only the second best off the beaten path college story of the weekend. Did you catch the college wrestling story?
I wouldn't have unless one of our listeners did not send it to me as a direct message via X.
Gable Stevenson was the Minnesota wrestler who won the gold medal last year. Gold medal, heavyweight wrestling. So needless to say, he's a bit of a favorite to win the college heavyweight natty. He's got a 4-2 lead on Oklahoma State's Wyatt Hendrickson with less than 30 seconds to go. And Hendrickson goes for the shoot, and he gets his legs, and it takes about 10 seconds, and the crowd, 20,000, and they're in suspended, and he takes them down. The place erupts. There's 18 seconds left. He's up 5-4, but he can't allow Stevenson to escape. That would have tied it at 5 and sent it to overtime. Stevenson tries to get to his feet, and Hendrickson's able to keep him down. And Wyatt Hendrickson, with what some are saying is the greatest college wrestling upset of all time, won the Natty 5-4 over Minnesota's Gable Stevenson. So there. It's a lot boring now when I go to the NBA, huh? Heat snapped their 10-game losing streak, beat Charlotte. Woohoo! Cleveland snapped their 4-game losing skid. Remember I said.
You've taken our bank and ended it.
Fortunately, you didn't let me take the money. I'm like, come on, we got to bet on the Cavs. They're not going to lose 2 in a row. Come on, Mark. They're definitely not going to lose 3 in a row. Come on, Mark. Friday night. Are they really going to lose 4 in a row? Well, they did until last night when they beat Utah 120-91 to snap their 4-game skid. The Pistons have a 4-game lead for the 6th seed. That's important because that avoids the play-in. Pistons beat New Orleans 136-130. They're 4 up with 10 to play. The Hawks trying to chase them down. They beat Philly by 13. By the way, Boston's won 5 in a row. They beat Portland 129-116.
You know, you are really, really giving it to the poor Pistons. The Pistons are they're 4.5 games up on Atlanta.
I just said that.
I understand that. They're only 2 games out of 4th. There's a much better shot of the Pistons having home court advantage in the first round than being in the play-in by simple math.
All right. I was talking up the Pistons for the 4 seed last week, and then they lost at home to the Wizards. No offense, okay? Now I'm back to making sure they just avoid the play-in. They lost at home to the Wizards. Tough to take them seriously as the 4 seed after that. Sorry. By the way, Denver raised their hand and said, I really think we're the only team out west that can give OKC a series. They went to Houston, where the Rockets had won 9 in a row and beat them 116-111. Houston is the 2 seed by a game over Denver, the 3 seed. And the Thunder have won 6 in a row. They beat the Clippers 103-101. Right now, the Clippers are the 8 seed out west. Panthers had to come from behind, winning a shootout 4-3 over Pittsburgh. Lightning have lost a couple in a row. Vegas beat them 4-2. St. Louis over Nashville 4-1. Big win for the Blues as they hold down the final playoff spot out west. And did you see the goalies nearly fight in Los Angeles last night?
I saw the referee and the linesman prevent the goalies from fighting. Everybody in the building, including the goalies, wanted to fight, but the referee and the linesman had to poo-poo the party.
I know. What's gotten into them, for goodness sakes? I mean, Jeremy Swayman and Darcy Kepner wanted to fight. Let them fight.
Thank you.
Kings beat the Bruins 7-2. LA scored 7 goals in back-to-back games. And nice little hockey story. Pat Maroon. He's 37 next month, and he decided over the weekend he's going to retire. And he played a long time in St. Louis. He was on the Blues team that won the Cup in 2019. So he told Darren Pang before the game, hey, I'm going to retire. And so Pang said, well, why don't you announce it on the air? So they did the pregame interview, and Maroon announced he was going to retire. He had his family there because they still live in St. Louis, 20-something people at the game, the whole deal. Maroon was also on the Lightning teams that went back-to-back in 2020 and 2021. He one of the rare players to win 3 cups in a row and yet not be on the same team to win those 3 cups. Anyway, Mark, he's playing for the Blackhawks. They're not any good. They lost to the Blues over the weekend. And do you know who St. Louis voted the number 1 star of the game?
Pat Maroon.
Pat Maroon. And he came out and skated and got a standing ovation from Blues fans, thanking him for helping them win Lord Stanley.
Key part of that team.
Yeah.
I mean, also, you see Maroon now, every year he's gotten a little older, a little slower. 4 years ago, he wasn't that slow. He was a contributor on that St. Louis team. He was a big part of making them gel.
Well, he was 30, turning 31 during the Blues run, and then the next 2 years he's on the Lightning, and he was a key part of their third line.
Damn right.
NASCAR, they were at Homestead. Kyle Larson picked up the win. Alex Bowman second. Bubba Wallace third. Ross Chastain, a disappointing 31st. Ryan Blaney led the most laps. He led over 100. He ended up 39th, second to last. Ouch. IndyCar, Alex Palos won the first 2 races of the year. They raced on a road course in California. I think there were 100 people at the race. They had no grandstands, no sponsorship. That's okay. Apparently there was an electrical outage in Fox's control room, and they lost coverage of the race for an hour. They had to flip over to NASCAR.
Here's the question. Even though they lost coverage of the race for an hour, did anyone notice?
I did receive one text. Pato O'Ward finished second. Golf, a good one. Valspar at Palm Harbor, just northwest of Tampa. Justin Thomas had a 2-shot lead with 4 to play and then made 2 late bogeys while Victor Hovland got hot. He made 3 late birdies, and Hovland, who had not made the cut in a full field tournament in 8 months, wins the Valspar by 1 over Thomas, who still hasn't won since winning the PGA 3 years ago. For Hovland, it was his first win since the 23 Tour Championship. And biggest putt of the weekend, you could argue, in China. Sergio Garcia, apparently the top 3 finishers got an automatic spot in this Asian Tour event in the Open Championship. And remember, the LIV guys don't have any world ranking status. So a bunch of them played in this tournament in China. Sergio had a 3-footer on the last hole, which would have guaranteed him a top 3. He missed it. So he's not yet in the Open Championship. He still has more chances to qualify, but not that many. Baseball, the season starts for everyone not named the Dodgers and Cubs on Thursday. Rays starter Shane McClanahan, who walked off the mound over the weekend holding his pitching elbow. Turns out it was not a re-injury to his Tommy John. It was just nerve irritation. They'll let it calm down. He'll go on the injured list, and then they'll get him back out there throwing. The Rays said, without question, best case scenario for him and for us. Seattle cut Mitch Haniger. The Tigers signed outfielder Manuel Margot. Orioles shortstop Gunnar Henderson is going to begin the season on the injured list. He hasn't played a spring game since late February. He's got that oblique injury. And finally, as we mentioned last segment, George Foreman, Olympic gold medalist, 2-time heavyweight champion, passed away late Friday night at the age of 76. And at 8 minutes before the hour, that was the starting 5. 5 big stories and the George Foreman grill that you needed to know here on Miller and Moulton.
I'd have gone 5 big stories in college wrestling. It was a great story, but it does mark the first time, I believe, that we've ever gone college wrestling in the starting 5.
Well, those in the know are saying it's the biggest upset in the history of the sport.
Biggest upset in the history of the sport.
So there you go. Men's college hockey tournament, by the way, gets underway Thursday. Frozen Fours in St. Louis. Listen, there's nothing wrong with St. Louis, but when you can have the Frozen Four in Tampa and you choose St. Louis, what the heck?
This is a pet peeve of Miller and Moulton. There was no talk of the Frozen Four being in Tampa. They had it in Tampa a couple of years ago. They've had it in Tampa several times. Miller and Moulton, for at least the last decade, have been huge proponents of holding the Frozen Four every year in Tampa.
Yeah. Baseball's in Omaha, softball's in Oklahoma City. You know where the Frozen Four should be? Tampa. Every fan base loves it. You know why? Hockey, beaches, beer.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has the look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Is snoring bothering your spouse? Would you like to sleep in the same bed again? Do you know that snoring can affect your sleep cycle and cause lower testosterone levels? At Sleep Treatment Direct, we have easy solutions. We have a simple laser procedure that can improve snoring in 10 minutes. If you would like to get back in the same bed or are looking for a natural way to treat low testosterone, give us a call at 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Or go to sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. I feel tired, sluggish, and just not myself. I'm gaining weight, my energy is low, and I've lost my drive. Could it be low testosterone?
Absolutely. Testosterone naturally declines over time, but you don't have to accept it. Low T can affect your energy, strength, mood, and focus. But here's the good news. Testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, can help restore your vitality and get you back to feeling your best. Imagine waking up strong, sharp, and energized, ready to take on the day like you used to. At Revitalize Clinic, we specialize in physician-guided, American-made TRT designed just for you.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. Feel like yourself again. Testosterone replacement therapy, because your best years aren't behind you, they're just getting started. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Got any ideas for a poll question?
Um,
Did you own a George Foreman grill?
There you go. What do you best remember George Foreman for? Boxing, the grill, announcing / TV, because he did a TV show.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Monday. Thanks so much for being with us. Hope you had a good weekend. Glad you're starting your week with us. We talked about a few different things there during the starting five. Mark, I knew this, didn't mention it in the starting five, but just found out something additional. President Trump went to the college wrestling championship on Saturday, and apparently he stayed late. I knew he was there, okay, because I saw the greeting, but I didn't realize he stayed late. But I don't know if it was the Hendrickson kid who won, but one of the guys who won is also in the armed services. And so when he won, he draped himself in the flag and he saluted, the commander-in-chief, and the commander-in-chief later met him. I mean, it was a festive occasion.
One other thing that you missed in the starting five, and I'm not blaming you, nor maybe should you have not put it in, but I don't know if you caught this. Not only did we not make the Nations League final in soccer,
we lost
the third place game.
Yes. Did you see Landon Donovan on X?
I did not.
Landon Donovan said, I am so sick of hearing about how talented we are. Apparently, no one on the team wants to represent the country. Put the team out there that wants to represent us, and the hell with the most talented players. Where is the pride? Where is the passion?
It's embarrassing, but it's embarrassing for U.S. soccer fans who I really feel for you. And you know that I'm being truthful when I say this. I feel for the U.S. soccer fan. I do. I spent decades promoting hockey all over this country and felt as if many times it was falling upon deaf ears. Why don't you like this sport that I think is so great?
Right.
And after a while, and by a while, I mean about 20 years, I gave up. I don't fight that fight anymore. You like what you like, and that's just the way that it is. I laugh because my 25-year-old son, who's a huge hockey fan, and we talk, I just don't get why more people don't like it. Don't know what to tell you. But U.S. soccer fan has been screaming at us forever.
Yep.
About how great the sport is and how great we are going to be at this sport. And with a World Cup a year away.
Right. A year away. On our continent, by the way. Most of the matches in our country. Right.
We are setting ourselves up for yet another colossal disappointment for the U.S. soccer fan. And I feel badly for you. But I'm curious, 21,000, for those of you out there that are the diehard USA soccer fan, how close are you to giving up on them? Really? Doesn't mean you're not going to watch it when there's a game on, but to drape yourself in the flag and go to your coworker and your friends. Here we go, World Cup start. Whoa! We can't even medal in the Nations tournament. It's embarrassing.
It is. It is. And we hired a real coach this time, too.
And paid him real money to do the job.
Right. So can't blame it on them being cheap. Can't blame it on them having the wrong coach. Barstool Sleeper in our Twitch chat room. I'm dead inside when it comes to the men's national team.
And I don't blame you.
Ouch.
I don't blame you. So, Gator fan, after the weekend in a tough game against Connecticut, how far do you think you're going to go now? Do you still feel it's natty or bust? Or were there reasons to make you think that this team may not get as far as you thought they were going to get?
See, it's funny. If I'm a Gator fan, I'm thrilled with yesterday.
Me too. You were
Thrilled.
tested by a team that we all know has what? Championship pedigree. I don't care if that wasn't the same team as last year or 2 years ago. They're incredibly well coached. They're not afraid of the moment or the opponent. And they came out punching yesterday.
Yep. And you had to win a little differently than you've won most of your games in the SEC. This was just a touch more physical, a touch lower scoring, a touch harder in a sense. I mean, when you were watching that game, okay, it's not that Auburn and Alabama aren't better, but UConn's a tougher out in a sense. You know, Auburn, Alabama's more of a track meet. Okay, that was not a track meet. If it was the field events, not the track events. And so if I'm a Gator fan, I'm thrilled. We stood up to them. We punched back. And we could have lost that game.
And we got knocked down on the mat in that game. And we're able to get back up and survive through it. Because there were long stretches where Connecticut was controlling the pace, the physicality, and really the scoring of that game. So I'm with you, David. I think it's the game you have to get through in the tournament. It's going to come along sometime. You know, on the other side of that, wins Duke going to get that game? Because they just beat the ever-living crap out of everybody.
Well, we said it when the bracket came out. Was Duke going to be tested much before the Elite Eight, or was it going to take going to the Final Four in order for Duke to be tested? Because isn't the 2 seed in Duke's region Bama?
Yes.
And it's not like, I mean, Bama's talented, but Bama's not tough. I mean, if you're Duke of all the 2s, I mean, seriously, Bama's not going to punch you in the mouth. Bama's about talent. Bama wants to roll the ball out and figures we're better at it than you are. And Duke will be like, yeah, okay, I don't know about that.
You don't want to play defense against us? We may score 110. But what does Duke lead the nation in 20-point or more victories this year?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have not been forced to play hardly any close games. Now, how will they react when they get in one? We'll find out. But right now, Duke's just pounding everybody. Florida was in a game. Houston was in a game. Auburn's been in a game. The other 1 seeds have had some tests. Right now, Duke has seemingly taken the test, and they've had the answers to it before it was given to them.
By the way, very classy gesture by Kelvin Sampson, the Houston coach. There was a kid on Gonzaga, and that was a tough game. Tighter than the final score. And the game ends and the kid's career's over, and they're doing the handshake line, and the kid's at the end of it, and he's sobbing. And Kelvin knows him because Houston, not that long ago, was in the AAC, and this kid was playing I think, on Temple in the AAC. And Kelvin, knew him from AAU days. And the kid's crying, and Kelvin's, trying to say, how terrific he is and what have you. And he just bear hugs the kid, and the kid's just sobbing on Kelvin Sampson's shoulder. And Kelvin's like, it's okay. It's all right. And I just thought that was really cool to see from the opposing coach. We've had some bad handshake lines in the last year and a half in sports, so much so that people are trying to outlaw the damn handshake line. So I don't know. Just struck me, there's a part of me, Mark, is a little softer, getting a little softer in spots. I want to punch people in other spots, but in some spots I'm getting softer.
And that's a good one to get softer in, when we see the humanity of the opposing coach in victory being able to console one of the players that he just took out of the tournament. But it is a very, very chalky tournament. My kind of tournament. Right. In Sweet 16, the good teams are left. The problem is, while I've always liked a chalky tournament, what I like is what Maryland did to Colorado State. I want a great game, but at the end of the day, I want the better team to advance, despite the fact that he took 4 steps.
Well, he took 3. He did take 3. Now, what I am curious about is, as it happened live, did you think it was a travel?
No,
Was that one of those, you saw the first replay and you went, oh, damn, he took 3 steps? Because that's how it was with me. Live, I'm just like, wow.
Live, I really thought Colorado State defended it perfectly.
They made
forcing a guy to fall out of bounds and banking a shot to win the game. I don't know if Colorado State defensively could have played that play much better than they did, David.
They forced a right-handed shooter to have to go to his left, falling out of bounds, and bank one in. Oh, and they made a freshman beat him. Yeah, sometimes you just have to tip your hat. I give Barkley credit. It's funny. I have a love-hate relationship with the whole, Ernie, Kenny, Chuck on the NCAA tournament. Because there are times in which it's just like, oh God, you guys, you haven't paid attention at all. You don't know what you're talking about. You're stealing money here. This is embarrassing. But then there are times when they'll bring up things that no one else will bring up. I mean, Barkley brought it up right away. That was a travel. He said, how was that not a travel? And they brought Gene Steratore out on set and made him defend it. And Steratore said, I didn't think it was a travel. I didn't have a problem with it. And Barkley's like, I got 13 texts from guys who played the game saying it was a travel.
Yeah, well, when they don't call one in the tournament, I'd be a bit surprised if they call one on the shot that wins the game. We don't see traveling called anymore. Miller and Moulton.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Want to ask people to describe the tournament thus far? Exciting, chalky, boring.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour on this Monday. Thanks so much for being with us. Hope you had a great weekend, and we thank you for starting your week off with us. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Kicking around a lot of things because, let's face it, the tournament has been chalky, dare we say boring by NCAA tournament standards. In fact, could that be our poll question? What word best describes March Madness thus far? You know,
Exciting wouldn't be one of the words I would choose. I wouldn't even put it on the list.
no, we need to find a word, though, that is at least positive. Okay, because there are some that just, that they love it no matter what. Trent's going to do the final hour with you today. I mean, I can only imagine what he's going to be like. Because let's face it, he's a big Michigan State guy. They're in the Sweet 16. So if your team is still in the Sweet 16, I mean, try convincing a Gator fan this has been a boring tournament. So we got to come up with a word that's, one positive word, whatever that word is, chalky as the second word. And I don't even know if that's a word, but it is on Miller and Moulton. And then boring would be my nomination. So, to describe the NCAA tournament thus far.
So on Friday, I have become friendly, and I wouldn't say friends yet, because you and I use that word. We hold that word in kind of high regard if you're friends
Right.
with somebody.
Right.
But I have become friendly with my wife's coworker. He and I went to the Orange Bowl, and he is a monstrous college fan.
Okay.
Wants nothing to do with pro anything, with maybe the exception of baseball, because he's a Cubs fan.
Interesting.
But I mean, he loves college basketball. I felt like I was with a younger, skinnier David Moulton on Friday. He came over to the house to watch the games. And David, he knew far more about college basketball than I've ever cared to know.
Okay.
I mean, where players have played, where they transferred from, and we have been texting nonstop. I mean, he was the one that had the nugget that, gave me the 3 FAU players are
Right.
still in the tournament where they played. If you had Dusty May, that's a fourth. But even he has been questioning this tournament. And this is he already, before the year began, he books his hotel rooms at wherever the Final Four is.
Oh,
he
wow.
has hotel rooms in San Antonio. No tickets. Not sure if he's going. I'm probably just going to let the hotel rooms go. But he's that diehard about this. And even he has had a little trouble with this tournament.
So we got to come up with whatever that positive word is. We're not going to go great. We're not going to go exciting because we think that's just overselling it a little bit. I mean, can we say fun? Is that
better than average?
We're going to quote Gary Koch. The players was only a week ago. Better than most. Well, inside golf humor there. I don't know. We need a word. Right now I'm going with fun. It's because it's upbeat, it's positive.
Entertaining.
Okay.
It was a suggestion on the text line.
Okay. We can take it under consideration. Right now we're at fun or entertaining. B, a lot of chalk. C, boring.
By the way, we did something for those of you listening along the network, that we don't do often on Friday. We didn't have a poll question, and we didn't do it until the 9 o'clock hour when we're just on in the market that David and I started doing our show together in the Fort Myers Naples market. And we did it locally on the FGCU team, the local basketball team. When will they make it to the basketball men's tournament next? Nearly 48% on a low vote said the 2030s. Two things concerned me is that almost half said the decade will not produce another tournament team, and the fact that it was one of the lowest votes we've had in a long time.
Now, I put that blame on us because we didn't release the poll question in our 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. hour. We only released it at 9 o'clock. And so, I put that blame on us. But we have noticed whenever we go local that we get less feedback than we used to give, which is an indication to us that there's less interest than there used to be. By the way, 12 years ago today, don't know if you'll have it, and today was the day when, but it was 12 years ago today that they actually made history. It's when they became the first 15 to make it to the Sweet 16. Today was the day in 2013 that FGCU, aka Dunk City, beat San Diego State 81-71 to advance to the Sweet 16.
And one of the things we are wondering is when or if we are going to see something like that again after a miraculous run, quite frankly, of 13s, 14s, 15s, and even a couple of 16s winning in the first round of the tournament. This year we had 0.
Well, think about it. If FGCU became the first 15 to make it to the Sweet 16 12 years ago, I think there's been 3 others since. So in the last, before this year, and you could say it was 10 tournaments because the one tournament didn't happen. So we had a 10 tournament run where 4 15s made it to the Sweet 16 and 1 to the Elite 8. Hell, 2 16s won a game. By the way, does anybody else find it awkward or just interesting that Ryan Odom was the head coach of UMBC when they became the first 16 to knock off a 1 when they knocked off Virginia? And do you know who was just named the new head coach of Virginia? Ryan Odom. So congratulations, after you gave us arguably the lowest moment in the history of sports at this college. I mean, I think our poll question that day was, what's a worse moment? Virginia losing to a 16 seed or when Virginia lost to Chaminade back in the day?
And now, and that's the other thing. I mean, we're sitting there, one ACC team left.
Yeah, Duke.
Louisville went out in the first round. UNC won their play-in game, lost in the first round. And Clemson was beat in the first round.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mark, there was only one ACC team by the second round. I mean, that's amazing.
So they've got to figure out how to get their act together in basketball.
Do they ever?
And think about it. Most people didn't even think North Carolina deserved to be in the tournament.
The other thing is there's talk out there that the Big East and the ACC should merge in basketball. If they did, they still would only have Duke in the Sweet 16. The Big East didn't exactly. I mean, UConn lived up to their seeding. Marquette didn't. Creighton did. St. John's didn't. I mean, it was not a great tournament for the Big East either.
No, it's really been a good tournament for the Big Ten and the SEC. Something we're going to have to get used to going forward until financially the rest of the conferences can get somewhere in the area code of the Big Two. It doesn't
Seven-
just mean more. They just pay more.
And they always have. 7 SEC, 4 Big 10, 4 Big 12, and Duke. That is what's left. We'll change gears. Steve Carney next.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Chaminade is, I don't know what their status is now. They were, I believe, an NAIA school at the time. And when they first started the Maui tournament, they played in the Maui Christmas tournament. And Chaminade, as a D2 or an NAI school, beat Virginia with Ralph Sampson, who at the time was the best college basketball player in the country. And they upset Virginia in that tournament. It's one of the biggest upsets in college basketball history, Ambient, particularly for a regular season game. Yeah, this was long before you were born, Ambient. This was like 1980, maybe 82. '82. They were number one in the country. NAIA team. They weren't even Division II. You can make all the excuses you want, Lucifer. That's losing to an NAIA school. I mean, that is Florida losing to Ave Maria. I mean, it's maybe the biggest upset in the history of that sport. Certainly regular season wise.
I think he was doing. Did you send him a late Mark? He would do the link.
He's on phone.
Right.
$21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. Mike Miller covers college basketball for the Field of 68. He will join us at the top of the hour. Dan Canobbio, a boxing analyst for Inside Boxing Live. He will join us 1 hour from now as we look back at the life and career of George Foreman. But right now, it's time to catch up with Steve Carney, founder of stpete9.com, covers the Rays and Major League Baseball for Under the Orange Roof podcast. Follow Steve on X at Steve Carney, Carney. Steve, it's David and Mark. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Yeah, with just a couple of days until opening day, it's always going to be an exciting time, that's for sure.
No doubt. And Steve and I are really on the same page this morning. I was supposed to send Steve an email so we hook up via video link. I didn't do that. I called Steve. The first thing he said was, "Oh, I forgot I was even coming on your show this morning." So we are on a roll this morning at a little before 20 minutes until the hour. But Steve, the Rays seemingly dodged a big bullet. Obviously, with all the arm injuries they had, McConaughey comes off the mound holding his arm, everybody fearing the worst. It's some nerve damage. It's a best case scenario. So it looks as if for the moment the Rays dodged a pretty big bullet.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially when you're talking about a guy that's had 2 Tommy John surgeries as well and is coming back from one. So he has not pitched in a regular season game since 2023. Hearing that it's just an inflamed nerve and that hopefully, this is something that's only going to take, 4 weeks or so. So hopefully you see McClanahan at the beginning of May. I remember David Price, when he was with the Rays, had the same injury or a similar injury. I shouldn't say the exact same injury, but it was a similar injury when he was with Tampa Bay, missed about 4 weeks, came back and did not have a problem the rest of the way, and was just as strong as he looked before the injury afterwards. So hopefully this is a very good sign for McClanahan.
Listen, we don't count wins and losses in the spring, but we do count how people look, how they have performed. What kind of a spring was this for the Rays? Like the White Sox, for example, have put 6 pitchers on the injured list needing Tommy John surgery so far in spring training. What kind of a spring was it for the Rays?
It was a very good one. Even with McClanahan's injury, you look at some of the guys that I thought looked really, really good this spring. Curtis Meade obviously had an amazing spring. It's the reason why he's on the opening day roster instead of Eloy Jimenez. Brandon Lau, I thought, had a really good spring as well. That's a guy that I think the Rays are going to really need in the middle of the lineup, especially playing this year at Steinbrenner Field with the way things are configured in left field. I think this could be a very big year for him as well. I thought that offensively between those two guys, and then I thought defensively, I saw some really good things from a number of players, and especially the young guys. They've got a really, really bright future ahead for a number of these guys that we could see at some point this year as well.
This may be a ridiculously stupid question, so I'm going to apologize in advance. But are there any advantages or disadvantages that you see playing at Steinbrenner Field? I not the home games and the whole weird schedule, but are there anything about the dimensions or anything about playing outside? Is there anything about going from the Trop to Steinbrenner Field that will be an advantage for the Rays?
Yeah, I think that just because of the way that right field is configured compared to how things are at the Trop, I certainly think that the left-handed hitters are going to find it a little easier, especially a guy like Brandon Lau, who has a lot of bat speed and can generate some really good exit velocity. I think that it's a little bit easier for a guy like him to get a ball out to right field at Steinbrenner than it would be at the Trop. So that's probably the only thing. I think the left-handed hitters may have it a little easier than the right-handed hitters this year.
And you would think it would favor left-handed pitchers also, but we shall see. Hey, did the Rays, along with the Jays, chances go up this spring? I mean, the Yankees have had an awful spring. I mean, 3 starters on the injured list, for goodness sakes, and Stanton looks like he's out for the year. The Orioles have not had a good spring. I mean, that Gunnar Henderson hasn't played in a month. He's going to start the season on an injured list. Mm-hmm. I mean, is this division more in play at the end of March than we thought it was at the end of February?
Oh, absolutely. And I certainly think that it's that way for all 5 teams in the division. It seems like I say this every year, though. It seems like, any one of these 5 teams is going to finish first, could finish first. Any one of these 5 teams could finish 5th. I don't think anybody expected how last season turned out for the Rays. I don't think they figured that this would be the way things turned out for the Jays or even the Red Sox. But I certainly think that, the way that things have gone, you mentioned, the Yankees injuries, the Blue Jays, how they've gone, how the Orioles have struggled, how the Red Sox have looked good. And I certainly think that this, the playoff spot or spots in this American League East are open for all 5 of these teams.
All right. With that being said, though, I mentioned the dimensions. I wanted you to answer that question. But what does the Rays' record have to be, in your opinion? They have 47 of their first 59 games at home. To me, They've got to be sitting 35-24, 34-25. I mean, it's imperative that this team gets off to a good start, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. When you look at having to play almost 50 of your 81 home games before June 1st, I certainly think that you've got to have a very, very good record. You've got to be 35 wins or so. I think you're absolutely right that come June 1st, if you aren't 10 games over 500, if you aren't that 35-24, 34-25 in that area, you're going to be in big trouble going forward, because you've got months like July and August where you only have 8 home games in each of those months. It's really going to be hard to make up ground come the All-Star break and even afterwards.
Talking Rays with Steve Carney. He covers the Rays and Major League Baseball. Follow Steve on X at Steve Carney, Carney. StPete9.com. Also, the podcast is Under the Orange Roof Podcast. Speaking of which, any positive news off the field for this franchise since the bomb was dropped 10 days ago? Anything?
If there's been anything positive, it's been really hard to find because, the animosity that, has been, displayed publicly between, some of the, politicians and the ball club, the front office, both Matt Silverman and Brian Auld have, said that the team is not for sale. I totally think that is an incorrect statement because I'm sure that, somebody could offer Stu Sternberg $2 billion for this franchise now, and you probably would say sold. Especially with, the money that's been thrown around over the last month or so. This guy, Bill Chisholm, who's spending $6 billion to buy the Boston Celtics. I'm sure that makes Stu Sternberg a very happy man because that just made the value of his franchise go up. But I certainly think that, when it comes to where this team is playing and the relationship between the franchise and the local politicians, there's not much happy right now.
All right, switching gears, you do a lot of work with the Lightning. 12 games left. The entire division right now is up for grabs, and it seems that nobody wants it. Florida, Toronto, and Tampa, all about 500 in their last 10 games. What do the Lightning need to do, or can they win this division with what's remaining?
Yeah, they certainly can. You're going to see and what's good is you're going to see the Panthers twice in the final 12 games. I believe you see the Maple Leafs twice in the final 12 games as well. Great. It's a great way to finish. You've got 7 of your last 12 games also at Amalie Arena. You've got one more big road trip because of the women's Final Four that you're going to have to take. But I certainly think that for the Lightning to earn a number 2 seed in the playoffs and earn an Eastern Division championship, they've got to start playing better defense. It seems like the way that this team plays defense is to just try and follow the puck, and they're not seeing the guy sneaking in from the back into really high danger areas and making things really tough for Andrei Vasilevsky. You can only depend on your goaltender to bail you out so much. They've got to start playing better defense. They did it for a large stretch starting at the beginning of February. They looked really, really good. They've gotten away from it over the last week or so. They need to get back to it.
Steve, did the Lightning ever have a problem when the Frozen Four was in Tampa? Because it is the final week of the regular season, and obviously that means they can't have 2 or 3 home games during that time, because we think Tampa should be the permanent site for the Frozen Four. The sport seems to love it in Tampa. The fan bases absolutely love it. We know what a great hockey market your market is. We think it's the perfect destination for the Frozen Four, but I'm just wondering, are the Lightning okay giving up the building for a week that time of the year every year if it became the permanent home?
Yeah, it's really tough to give up your building at the end of the regular season, like you said. This isn't like at Madison Square Garden where the Rangers have to leave for 2 weeks in January because the circus is in town. I certainly think that while it would be really nice for the community at large to have the Frozen Four at Amalie Arena every year, I don't know how much the Lightning would like it, because I'm sure that they would love to be able to spend the final few games of their schedule at home and making sure that they're healthy and rested going into what is arguably the hardest playoff run in all of sports.
Steve Carney, Rays and Lightning. Follow him on X at Steve Carney, Carney. Steve, as always, we appreciate it. Enjoy it. By the way, who's starting the opener for the Rays?
It's going to be Ryan Papio now that McClanahan's going to start on the injured list. Kevin Cash made that announcement after yesterday's game.
Okay. Steve, thanks. Enjoy the opener, and we'll talk soon.
You got it, guys.
Steve Carney, kind enough to join us once again. So the Panthers have a 2-point lead over the Leafs and a 4-point lead over the Lightning. Panthers have played one more game than both the Leafs and Lightning. And if Toronto were to win that game, they'd be tied with Florida for points. And in theory, if they win it in regulation, they'd be tied with regulation wins also with the Panthers.
And we see Steve on the spot there. They do only play the Leafs and the Panthers once more each, but both of those games are in Tampa.
And the Lightning, one win behind the Panthers also. So 4 points behind the Panthers, game in hand on the Panthers, one regulation win behind the Panthers. We mentioned that because that's the tiebreaker in hockey. Regulation wins, not overtime wins, not shootout wins. All right. Miller and Moulton end up tied in points. They don't go head to head. They go, okay, who won more games in regulation over the course of the season?
David, since the show is nearly half over, I think we have a poll question ready.
Good.
What word would you use to describe this year's men's basketball tournament? Entertaining, predictable, or boring?
I like it. Entertaining, predictable, or boring? I'm going to vote boring.
I am as well. And it pains me to do so. But the tournament has not delivered the way that we are used to. And I'm fine with the better, I'm fine with the better teams winning. But I want to see more of the Maryland, Colorado State version of the better team winning than the Duke blowing their opponent out by 25.
So go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X, and vote. Mike Miller covers college hoops for the Field of 68. He will join us coming up 45 minutes from now, Dan Canobbio, to talk the life of George Foreman, who passed away over the weekend at 76. Thanks for being with us, Miller and Moulton. Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. A few of my friends are taking daily Cialis or Viagra. What are the benefits and how much does it cost?
Great question. Cialis, Tadalafil, and Viagra, Sildenafil are game changer for men who want better performance, stamina, and confidence. They improve blood flow, support long-lasting performance, and help you feel like yourself again. And the best part, at Revitalize Clinic, we make it affordable. less than $1 per pill. No overpriced prescription, no hassle, just real results, American made at the best prices in town. Plus, with early hours starting at 5:30 in the morning, we fit your schedule.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. That's 239-980-2302. Get results. Get confidence. Revitalize Clinic, because every man deserves to perform at his best without breaking the bank. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Backsburg, why? Is there a reason?
Mike is on. Just hope he has some energy. He never has energy when I. Hello.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton Coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
We are halfway home in the 239 and the 904 on this Monday. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. And that's where you go to vote on our poll question, which is, what is the word that has best described the NCAA tournament for you? Entertaining, predictable, or boring? Vote accordingly. Mike Miller has to cover the tournament, whether it's entertaining, predictable, or boring. The field is 68. Nobody covers the sport better. He is responsible for their daily newsletter. Follow Mike on X, Mike Miller F68. Mike Miller F68. Mike, it's David and Mark. Good morning. We know you're tired. How are you?
I'm okay, all things considered, David and Mark. I suppose I suppose as long as I didn't have St. John's going to the Final Four in my bracket, I'm mostly okay. And Trice chalk wasn't an option for you guys. We went with predictable instead of chalk, huh?
We went with predictable. I was nervous too many people wouldn't understand chalky when it gets out in the Xville and things like that. But you're right. It's been very chalky. When you look at Florida's win against Connecticut yesterday, I thought that was a really good game for Florida because I don't know if they brought their A game. They were challenged mightily by a team with obviously a lot of tournament experience and great coaching. And you have to get through that game. To me, Florida really passed a big hurdle yesterday. Do you agree?
Yeah. I mean, and the conventional thinking goes that every great champion or every champion has one of those games in the tournament, right? They have a close call where they have to pull something out where they didn't play where they're supposed to. And credit to UConn there. I don't think we've seen UConn play defense like that all season. And that was the knock on them, is that they were all offense, no defense. And they frustrated Florida like few teams have this season. The difference is that Florida stayed patient. It worked the ball inside. It managed to hit a few threes, and then Walter Clayton went nuts at the end. And that's kind of what you need in a tournament like this. You need to have a few moments and a few guys step up when they really need to.
Arkansas, the only double-digit seed, and we know they're not a mid-major or a Cinderella, but when you start 0-5 in your league, and as John Calipari so eloquently said, they put us in the coffin. They just didn't nail it shut. All right. From where Arkansas was a month ago to where they are now, and where John Calipari's legacy, quite frankly, Mike, was a month ago to where it is now, is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and not just for what this team has done, because remember, Arkansas played these two tournament games without their leading scorer in Adu Thoreau. It just now reincorporated Boogie Fland, who's probably their best pro prospect. And they beat St. John's with most of their usual scoring threats not delivering, right? Against St. John's, they had Carter Knox and Billy Richmond lead them in scoring. And I think the number I saw was that one of those two guys has led them in scoring once this season. So it was a really remarkable game for Arkansas to beat St. John's like that. Now, St. John's, for those that didn't watch, couldn't hit water if it fell on the boat on Saturday. It's the Big East Player of the Year. R.J. Lewis was 3 of 17 from the floor. Patino benched him for the last 5 minutes because he was only looking to score and wasn't passing, and wasn't playing defense. It was a remarkable game for Arkansas. But more so remarkable for John Calipari is that he got to the Sweet 16 after you mentioned that 0-5 start in the SEC, after having played its way from nowhere near the bubble to securely in the field, and then got 2 wins against kind of NCAA tournament and coaching nemesis in Bill Self and Rick Pitino. If there's not a better story in the tournament, I don't know what it is, because now you're just going to see John Calipari's little sly grin in the media all week, and he's going to love every minute of it.
The team that, well, at least a lot of us love to hate, that's Duke. They've looked like Duke. They've not just looked good, They've looked great. They've continued to do what they've done in the regular season, and that's just pound everybody in front of them. Do they need a test in this tournament, or can they continue just whooping everybody's behind?
Well, they'll get a test in Arizona. Arizona's got some athletes who can compete with them, and the Caleb Love component of that game will probably be the X factor. You know, if Caleb Love insists on trying to play some hero ball, that'll derail Arizona against Duke. But Arizona's got some size and some talent to compete with Duke. The fascinating thing to me with Duke is that was on Sunday against Baylor. That was its 21st win, at least 20 points this season. And only Gonzaga in 2017, that team that reached the NCAA tournament championship game, has more of those wins this season. And only that legendary 1998-1999 Duke team has more. They are just locked in. Tyrese Proctor has 3 straight games where he's hit at least 6 3-pointers. Cooper Flagg was unstoppable in that latter half of the first half against Baylor. And Duke, they're rolling. And I don't know if they're going to see a really tight game. I think they'll win by 5, 6, 7, 8 points against Arizona comfortably. And they'll have to score to beat the winner of that BYU-Alabama game in the bottom half of that region. If there's a team out of all these 16 remaining teams that looks like a lock to get to the Final Four, it sure seems like Duke. Whether that's good or bad for America, I don't know.
Well, it's good for CBS. Mike Miller, Field of 68. Nobody covers the sport, in our opinion, better than the Field of 68. He produces their daily newsletter. Go to Mike Miller F68, Mike Miller F68, and follow him on X. All right, SEC got 7 of the second week, I believe, by seeding. That's what they were supposed to get. How has the SEC acquitted themselves, in your opinion, or is it the next round that will render that verdict?
You know, it'll probably be a little of both. I think mostly we should consider the SEC acquitted itself well. You know, Ole Miss beating Iowa State was a bit of a statement win last night, and that's what set that record. I mean, no conference has gotten more teams in the Sweet 16 before. You know, the ACC had 6 at one point. And the year when the Big East got 11 teams in the NCAA tournament in 2011, they only had 2 get to the Sweet 16. You know, the SEC put 14 teams in the tournament and got half of them to the Sweet 16. I think that's really impressive, no matter how you slice it. Now, should they then have half of the Elite 8? Probably they should. Now, they're guaranteed to have at least one because Kentucky and Tennessee play each other. But we're going to see some interesting matchups coming in. And, you know, starting with that Florida-Maryland game, that to me might end up being the best Sweet 16 game with Florida-Maryland, just because Maryland's got a tremendous starting 5. They've got size. They've got guard play. I think I'm looking forward to that game more than anything else come this week.
And Mike, to your point, we've been talking about it for a couple of weeks. You mentioned Maryland's got a great starting 5. They're not that deep. This game being the first of 2 for Maryland's a big advantage for them. You catch Maryland on the backside, they might be a little bit more tired, but with days to prepare it and being fresh, this is Maryland's best shot, right?
It is. I worry a little bit that Florida's just going to overwhelm them with size and just run line after line and front court players against them. And if either Derek Queen or Julian Reese get into foul trouble, I think that's a problem for Maryland. But we'll see. I mean, they've rolled with that starting 5 all season, and it's worked out just fine. I guess if you're the SEC, you're probably most interested to see what Auburn does. Learn how to turn it on late. On Saturday and not been still the Auburn we've seen all season. But they're going to play a team in Michigan that's been as lucky as any other team this season. Michigan, of course, got a good win against an SEC team already in Texas A&M. They've got some size against Auburn, and I don't know. We'll see what happens with them. Chad Baker was all right. It looks like he was fine after a hip injury midway through that game on Saturday. We'll see. Auburn and Florida, as long as those two take care of business, it feels like we'll see at least three SEC teams in the Elite Eight.
Do you have a gut feeling as to the Kentucky-Tennessee Sweet 16?
Kentucky's already beat that team twice, which is kind of remarkable considering it's not like Kentucky's been healthy in all those games. But they did Lamont Butler for those. And Butler, if any of you watched the Kentucky game yesterday, he didn't look 100%, but he looked healthy enough. And I think that'll be the key. He's certainly not going to be healthy again when they play Tennessee this week. And Tennessee's going to be favored in that game. And the saying goes that it's hard to beat a team 3 times in one season. Kentucky's going to have to hit shots. That's really as simple as it is. They're going to have to hit shots. And Tennessee, I would think, will be ready for this game. Chaz Lanier's been as good as anybody in this tournament thus far. He scored 20 against UCLA, he had 29 against Wofford. He's hitting from deep. I would lean the balls, but I think Kentucky's made a living this season out of having people underestimate them, and then they win.
If a 3-seed or lower makes the Final Four, who makes it?
Well, that's a great question. I guess I'll go Texas Tech, even though I think Florida is still going to win that region. But Texas Tech has the inside play and the athleticism to handle Arkansas. I think they're relentless when it comes to their offensive approach. As long as they're healthy enough, I think it's probably Texas Tech. I'm not sure I would really want any of those 3 seeds or lower to get there. I think we're still headed for more chalk in this tournament. It wouldn't surprise me at all to see 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four, and that happens. It's a tournament where there are only teams left from the SEC, right, the Big Ten, Big 12, and 1 ACC team. And we haven't had a Final Four with all 1 seed since 2008. It wouldn't surprise me at all to see that again this year. And that wouldn't surprise you given what the season has looked like either.
And that Final Four was in San Antonio. And where is this year's Final Four? It's in San Antonio. Mike Miller from the field of 68.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122. or NolanAgency.com. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Hey, listen, Otto Porter won Big East Player of the Year and got outplayed played 12 years ago by Sherwood Brown. So, guys have bad days.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Dan Canobbio will join us in a little more than 15 minutes time. We'll take a quick look back at the life, the legacy left by George Foreman, who passed away Friday night at the age of 76. But a lot of things happened this weekend. His women's college hockey title went overtime. Wisconsin beat Ohio State, third year in a row. Those two teams have played for the title. They score on a penalty shot in the final 20 seconds of regulation to tie it, win it in overtime. College wrestling, President of the United States was there, absolutely jammed, sold out, 20,000 plus arena, and they witnessed what many in the sport are saying is the biggest upset in the history of it. Wyatt Hendrickson beating Gable Stevenson, who had won the gold medal in wrestling just the year before.
Yeah, David, I really don't think since the Hulkster slammed Andre the Giant that we've seen an upset quite like this.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
It's just to piss off the wrestling guy. Because they are really the rest. There's only a couple of them out there. You know, there's soccer guy everywhere. There's hockey guy everywhere. There's wrestling guy. And he's just cursing me right now.
It's so
That's
funny.
okay.
It's so funny you say that, because when I was still doing local TV, the first time I was the Monday through Friday guy was in Binghamton, New York. And I went all in on local sports. I mean, you know, we're in a small town. I mean, you might as well, right? Even though on the weekends we covered the, you know, Syracuse and the Giants and the Bills. But anyway, and so I covered wrestling. And apparently nobody in the market had ever covered wrestling before. Mark, you're right. You'd have thought, because, man, if you were remotely into wrestling, boy, did I become your favorite sportscaster of all time. I had a top 10 every week as to, you know, top 10 teams in the region wrestling poll. And then I would go out, and one night a week, wrestling was the big night. I think it was like Wednesday night. And anyway, we'd have wrestling highlights. Oh, my goodness, Mark. You know what it is when you ask a niche sport, and I would say on the air, hey, you got to call in your scores. Oh, my goodness. The wrestling people called in their scores. I had all the wrestling scores in by 9:30.
You're damn right you did.
Before an 11 o'clock newscast.
You're damn right you did.
So, but yes, the college wrestling was apparently spectacular, which is good. The golf was outstanding.
It was. Justin Thomas, I mean, he played out of his tree for 14, 15 holes.
Yeah,
One button, everything. I mean, everything.
7 under, I think, through 14.
Yeah. After making like a 20-footer on the par 3 to get to 7 under for the day and 12 under for the tournament, only to have a couple of bogeys down the stretch. And Victor Hovland, who doesn't seem to know how to play golf anymore.
Right. He hadn't made the cut in a full field event since last summer. I mean, he was the top 5 player in the world a year and a half ago. Had completely lost his game. Had fired 5 coaches in 15 months.
Hey,
Said, yeah,
dude, it's not the coach. I hate to break it to you. It ain't the coach at that point.
And yet he striped the ball like it was September of 23 again. I will say he's fun. We were lucky enough. I was with Fox doing golf when he won the amateur at Pebble. And I think it was 18. And he is fun. You know, he's got that goofy grin and that aw shucks, you know, attitude. I could see where playing him would get annoying, though. Because he's got that, you know, like I just said, and you're turning around going, dude, okay, wipe that damn smile off your face. You're kicking my butt.
But it was interesting. You know, we talked with Mike Miller, a little college hoop there. Danny Hurley, I don't know if you caught the post.
Oh, yeah.
Of the most Oh, I don't know. Polarizing. I don't know about the most. He's quickly becoming the most polarizing coach in the sport.
Well, who else if not him? Mick Cronin?
Right.
Seriously.
And the rest of the guys are, the Izzos of the world are old. I mean, he's a younger guy in the profession. We think he's going to be there for a while until he gets the Knicks job. And he left the court after losing to Florida and going down the tunnel, started talking to the Baylor team who was playing next.
Right.
I hope they don't blank you like they blanked us. I hope they don't do that to you, Baylor. And immediately was able to change from that anger and hostility to start crying on the podium. I mean, what a run of emotions for the coach after losing that game. From incredible anger to heartfelt sympathy for his guys.
Mark, let's just get to the heart of the matter, though. As entertaining, juvenile, unprofessional, charismatic, whatever it is the word that you want to put next to Danny Hurley. Mark, in their last 14 NCAA tournament games, they are 14-0 against the spread. The 13 previous games that they had won, they had covered in all 13. And since they lost to the Gators by, what was it? The kid banked it. Oh, by the way, the banked in 3 to end the game. The over-under was $150. It was 77-72 when the UConn kid buries the 3 at the buzzer to make it 77-75. That's an over, thank you. That's all right. How about the final seconds of, was it Illinois, Kentucky? The line's 8.5. Illinois cuts it to 8. Underwood, the head coach, is yelling at his players, let it go. Because, there's like 11 seconds left in the game. He's just like, let them inbound it. It's over. We're done. We've spent the last 20 minutes fouling. It's over. Kids weren't listening to the coach. Fouls some kid from Kentucky with 4 seconds to go. He hits one of 2 free throws. Kentucky minus 8.5. That's a winner. Kentucky won by 9.
I'm not in it this year, but I have been in the past in what you would normally think of as a 100 square football pool. But I've been in these now for March Madness, where you have the same numbers throughout the tournament. You have the winner and the loser. It's not done by sides. It's like the winning number and the losing number. And I was just laughing at all these end-of-game shots in meaningless games that change the outcome, whether it's a square pool, whether it's if you're betting the line, whether it's the over-under. So many fascinating things happen at the end of these games. One, because of what you had, miscommunication between coach and team, but the other side of it is, with all the blowouts we've had, you get a bunch of guys in games that don't normally play. They want to get on the box score. Can't blame them for that.
Well, I'm trying to think if it was Duke Baylor. Because I know in one of the games, it was Duke Baylor. Cooper flags, individual prop bet, number of points he would score was anywhere from 18.5 to 19.5. He had 15 at the half, Mark. 15. He ended up with 18 points. Right. Like we need to give you more reasons to not gamble.
We've been giving you lots of them today because, underdogs have done well typically in the first 2 games of the tournament. Not this year.
No.
The favorites are the team you should have been betting on. And then we talked about the 8-9, which the underdogs had a great run of over 67%. This year, they were 2-2 in those games. But what word would you use to describe this year's men's basketball tournament? Entertaining, predictable, or boring? It's our poll question. Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or Miller_Moulton on X.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. Sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit SleepTreatmentDirect.com. That's SleepTreatmentDirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Okay.
Voicemail twice.
Okay. That's fine.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. Trent Balley will take my chair for the final hour with Mark. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Our poll question today: what word best describes the NCAA tournament thus far? Did you go with exciting or entertaining? Entertaining.
Entertaining is what I went with.
Predictable.
It hasn't been exciting.
Entertaining, predictable, boring. Those are the three choices. I voted boring.
I did as well.
That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X. Here's why I went with that answer and not predictable, chalky. Because I found myself watching a lot of other sports this weekend. And how many times on a March Madness weekend do you end up watching a lot of other things?
Well, I think part of the reason for that, and David, I don't know how long they've done it this way, but it hasn't been forever. CBS, when merging with the Turner properties to do the tournament, has made the round of 32 games play out much differently than they used to. It's a standalone noon game.
Which it's always been.
Always has been. Then a standalone 2:30 game.
Which it has not always been.
Correct. Then essentially half of a standalone game around 5:30.
Right. I mean, basically, CBS is getting almost noon to 6.
And it's just them before then on both Saturday and Sunday. I mean, I could be nuts. I don't remember round of 32 games starting at damn near 10 o'clock at night. That Oregon-Arizona game didn't tip until 9:50 on a Sunday night.
Well,
I got to get up early. I'm old. I get it. You can take all the shots at me you want. But usually the Sunday matchups were done a little earlier.
And not only that, Mark, the game was scheduled to begin.
Yes, 9:40 was tip. I mean,
Right.
9:40 was scheduled tip. It ended up being a little bit later than that.
This wasn't the case of A, the game that went long, or B, that went 2 overtimes and it was exciting and right. And so all of a sudden, start times pushed back a half hour. Right. No, this was the plan. Right. But, they're trying to get, ratings west of the Mississippi. And,
When did they start caring about anybody west of the Mississippi?
Just saying.
70% of the population is not west of the Mississippi.
I miss this. And I saw the buzzer beater. The Queen, the kid from Maryland, I saw it. But I didn't stick around for any kind of postgame. On the court, podium, nothing. Did you catch Andy Katz's great answers that he got on the court after the game?
I did, because very rarely do I stick around for postgame, particularly when my game's going on.
Right.
But the wife is a Colorado State alum. And as she was sitting on the couch with her mouth agape, watching her alma mater be taken down by Maryland, I left the TV on. And Queen told his coach when the huddle goes on and the coach says, "Who wants the ball?" Queen said, "Give me the blanking ball."
So Andy Katz asked Kevin Willard there, "What play did you call?" And he said, "Well, I looked around and said, 'Who wants the ball?' And Queen told me, 'Give me the MFing ball.'" So then he gets Queen And he goes, where does that confidence come from? And Queen takes his mouthpiece out and looks right at him and says, I'm from Baltimore. God, I love that. I absolutely love that. I do. I love tough inner city dude, white, black, don't care the sport, just looks right at you like, dude, my neighborhood? You either like this or you didn't play. Loved it.
Spectacular. Absolutely spectacular.
By the way, looks like Willard won the power struggle. The AD left to go to SMU. And now it'd be interesting if they had lost. Willard would have gotten a lot of criticism. He didn't use his foul at the end to potentially prevent the three-point shot that put him behind. How much criticism would Willard have gotten? They didn't live up to their seeding. He's fighting for more money for his staff, for the program. But now that you win and you go to the Sweet 16 and you won the power struggle with the AD, I have a feeling Willard's going to get what he wants.
And he will for sure get what he wants if he can win one more.
Oh, my goodness.
They take on the Gators. So
it is interesting, though. Villanova still hasn't hired a coach. And that screams that the guy we want is still coaching. That screams it.
And think about it. Who's out there that they could actually get that's still coaching?
Well, the guy from Maryland.
No. But I mean, I don't know if they could get any of the 7 SEC schools. Not leaving the SEC to go to Villanova. You're not.
Okay, hold on. You're Chris Beard. You wouldn't leave Ole Miss for Villanova?
Maybe.
I mean, you can win natties at Villanova. You can get the Final Fours there. That's the sport also. I mean, come on. You're coaching the number 2 sport at best.
No, okay. So 6 of the 7 SEC coaches.
Yes.
I mean, Shire's not leaving Duke.
No, obviously.
Izzo and May aren't leaving Michigan State and Michigan.
No, if May
no,
was
I mean,
right.
This is Kelvin Sampson's not leaving Houston.
No, he's too old. Right.
Right.
Yep. He's turned down opportunities in the last 3 years. He's not leaving.
That's all I'm saying. Is like, to your point, David, all you have to do is look at the damn bracket and it tells you.
Now, wait 24 hours. Maybe Villanova was just waiting for somebody who got beat yesterday. Richard Pitino. Maybe. But if today goes by and there's no noise with the Nova job, then the offer's in front of one of the 16 coaches still coaching.
I did have to laugh, watching New Mexico and Michigan State play and Richard Pitino coaching New Mexico. And Dad was there,
right,
watching his kid coach.
Mm-hmm.
And come on, we're all used to seeing Rick Pitino a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
In a $6,000 suit, looking like $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And here's Rick Pitino in the crowd, and Richard Pitino's daughter, his granddaughter, is sitting next to him, kind of leaning on Grandpa watching the game. I just thought it was a neat look, if not for anything else, that he was Dad and Grandpa. He wasn't Rick Pitino when they were showing him in the crowd. That's all.
Which is funny because I thought you were going to refer to the other shot, which making the rounds on social media. And it happens in hockey a lot of times. All right. And Mark, you gave away some of the best seats. And sometimes you wanted a good-looking crowd, as we referred to it. And how many times, Mark, are the people sitting directly behind the coach in the NHL? All right. And one of them is a very attractive young lady. And sure enough, there was a woman who was directly behind Rick Pitino's right shoulder, that every time I saw them go to the crowd for the cutaway shot, okay, there was an attractive woman who, how shall I describe it? She's healthy. And maybe the top was a size too small. That's all. And so I had to laugh every time I saw Pitino. I go, guys, I know what you're trying to do, but I mean, we're paying attention to something other than Rick Pitino. Just so you know, for this 4-second cutaway shot, Rick's getting 2 seconds. He's not getting all 4.
What the hell has happened to me? I just noticed Pitino and the granddaughter there. I don't know. This is a complete juxtaposition between Miller and Moulton right here. What the hell is going on? How would you describe what just happened between Miller and Moulton? Entertaining, predictable, or boring?
Or unprecedented. Okay,
right.
If we need a fourth choice.
Absolutely. Text the show now, 21,000, and let us know how you feel. Holy cow. One other thing that we haven't talked about yet is Rodgers made a little visit to Pittsburgh.
Spent 6 hours. Didn't talk money apparently at all. Apparently they've already got it worked out. That if he's going to choose them, they've apparently worked it out. That he went to see whether or not they're a fit. And listen, I understand a lot of people are sick and tired of Rodgers, but if Arthur Smith was my offensive coordinator, I'd have to go for a meeting too. I mean, his last 4 years calling the plays, 3 in Atlanta and last year in Pittsburgh, I mean, now I think Aaron Rodgers is ready to transition to what Mike Shanahan did for John Elway. When Elway was 36, 37, and 38, and he and they had 3 great seasons. The first one, they got upset by Jacksonville in the second round, and then the next 2, they went to and won the Super Bowl. But Terrell Davis was the focal point of the offense. And Elway became a play-action passer who ran first, threw the ball second. I think Rodgers is ready for that role, but Arthur Smith runs the ball more than even Mike Shanahan used to back in the day.
And the problem, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, you're dealing with an offensive line in Pittsburgh that I believe is below average. They don't have a Terrell Davis at running back. Now, their receiving core, if they keep both Pickens and Metcalf, will be good. And Freiermuth, I mean, they do have a tight end and 2 receivers, but they don't have much of an offensive line. It should be better because they're getting some pieces back that were injured last year. But I don't know if the running game is enough with what they have to be a run-first team.
Don't disagree.
But the other side of it is, and it's a much smaller signing, Jameis is a giant.
Well, the funniest thing I saw about that was somebody who covers the Giants put out a post that said, well, Travis Hunter is now the perfect draft pick for the Giants because he could potentially catch passes from Jameis and then also pick off passes from Jameis.
Outstanding. In fact, Travis could come into the game and just tell Jameis he's on defense, and there's a more likelihood that Jameis will throw him the football.
What I found interesting, though, was that it was a 2-year deal. You know, we've seen a lot of 1-year deals. Giants signed Jameis to 2 years, $8 million. It could be worth 12 or 16 million, you know, depending on the number of starts, etc. So, okay, they got their backup. And I guess it's possible Aaron could retire. Russ could go back to Pittsburgh. Who knows? I guess it's possible Jameis is the starter.
Or the bridge starter if they end up taking a quarterback with their pick. You know, who knows how the early, mock drafts are changing daily. of how the top of this draft's going to look, David.
I think this is a phenomenal move for Jameis, though, because this begins his post-playing career. The media there will love him. The Giants have been awful. At this point, those beat writers just want a good quote. At this point, Jameis has begun his post-playing career by signing this contract where? In New York.
Couldn't agree more. And there's not any, to me, outside of being a color analyst, I don't think Jameis Winston would, and maybe he'd be great at it. But in the studio, doing like Marshawn Lynch does some of those crazy stories, I don't know the scenario you could set up where Jameis where he'd fail in the media.
I'm with you. We'll see.
But Aaron Rodgers visiting Pittsburgh, Jameis signing with the Giants, just a couple of the NFL things that happened over the weekend as we focused mainly on the madness right here on Miller and Moulton. For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122. or nolanagency.com. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no.
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. I feel tired, sluggish, and just not myself. I'm gaining weight, my energy is low, and I've lost my drive. Could it be low testosterone?
Absolutely. Testosterone naturally declines over time, but you don't have to accept it. Low T can affect your energy, strength, mood, and focus. But here's the good news. Testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, can help restore your vitality and get you back to feeling your best. Imagine waking up strong, sharp, and energized, ready to take on the day like you used to. At Revitalize Clinic, we specialize in physician-guided, American-made TRT designed just for you.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. Feel like yourself again. Testosterone replacement therapy, because your best years aren't behind you, they're just getting started. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Hey.
David, you just lost 60 pounds in 30 years. What the hell happened?
Do I sound okay to you?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay, good. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Despite not many upsets, I actually loved the action all weekend. I thought we got some really good games.
You're going to have to defend that.
Really?
Yeah, I think this tournament has sucked. I think there's been maybe 2 good games so far.
It was so good. Arkansas St. John's was so good.
No, it wasn't. Just stop. Stop. We're going to start right there. God, I love you.
Oh, man.
Awesome.
Last night when Akins hit that 3, I punched the floor, like getting fired up, and my hand is killing me today.
Broke your hand punching the floor, huh?
All swollen up on this side. It's fired up. Good show this morning, though?
Oh, not bad. We had one guest not answer the phone on us, but that's all right. I was actually okay with it because it was to talk George Foreman and boxing, and either way, I could have, it didn't matter to me.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah, especially at the 8:30 slot, but you get guests when they say yes.
Right. It's snowing here, by the way.
Oh. And I'll point this out again, Johnny Fingerlegs. I do want to let you know, 3-point shooting in that game was 4 of 41, and there were 90 missed shots in the game. Great. Competitive, yes. Exciting, yes. Great? No. Not even close. Great was when Duke played against Kentucky and Leitner hit the shot. That was great. That's your bar for the gold standard of basketball. Everything else has, and I'm not saying it was, but it wasn't even in the same country as great to me.
That's a good argument. The boys from Queens. You talking about St. John's?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Well, we're throwing you for a loop on a Monday because we've got a little change going on in the midst of the show. We went to the bullpen. David was a little tired, had thrown too many pitches, and it's earlier in the season, so we had to pull him from the game and bring in a relief pitcher. Now, David had some obligations this morning to get to before 10, so he bailed on us an hour early, but instead of just flying solo for an hour, one Trent Balley has joined me for the bonus hour this morning. Good morning, Trent. I know, based on where you went to school and where I went to school, we could drown this hour out talking Sparty. So to ask how you are this morning, I know how you are this morning, but did you leave your couch essentially from Thursday to Sunday? How much of the tournament have you taken in?
Well, good morning, Mark. Thanks for having me on. This is just going to be a blast. It's going to fly right by. This tournament, it could be the worst tournament ever, and it would still have me locked into every single game. So to answer your question, I mean, I was doing double duty last week, doing the morning show and the afternoon show on the network. So it was just nonstop updates with games and 4 screens going. And when I was at home, to answer your question, no, didn't leave the couch very much. I've loved this tournament. I know you disagree.
All right. Our poll question today is, what word would you use to describe this year's men's basketball tournament? Entertaining, predictable, or boring? What would you answer that question with?
Those are three great options, and that's why you guys are pros in this business. I would go entertaining. I have been entertained, not just with certain players' matchups. You've got coaching matchups. You've got some teams that haven't really been on runs in a while, like Florida making a run. I'm enjoying this. I really am.
I voted for boring for what it's worth.
And you know what, Mark? You can make a very good case for boring, but I'm not there.
And I am someone who likes a chalky tournament. I want the best teams, particularly when we get to Thursday and Friday of this week. I want the best teams playing one another. So from that aspect, this tournament has been exactly what I want. But what I want more of, and what I always expect more of in the tournament, is more Maryland, Colorado State, the buzzer beaters. And that one, it sucked because my wife went to Colorado State. I wanted her alma mater to win, but that's the way I like these to go. I like the higher seed to win the buzzer beater and move on and get threatened. I don't think there have been, like, that to me has been far and away the best game of this tournament. I don't think it's close.
Okay, so I enjoyed Kansas, Arkansas. I enjoyed Vanderbilt, St. Mary's. I enjoyed
both good games. Top 5 in this tournament, I would say, Trent.
Baylor, Mississippi State was another good game. Obviously my team has put together a couple solid games that have been fun to watch. So from that standpoint, I've enjoyed it. But Mark, I will also admit I am in the minority. I like this tournament more than the average Joe. So you make a very compelling case. I think, what was it, the first tournament since 2017 that there were no upsets with the 1 through 4 seeds?
Yes.
I mean, they're all just moving on. It is chalk. And from what I know about you, and we've joked about this via text, Mark Chalk Miller has probably had a better bracket than anybody I know.
It's not been bad. But I had a couple of setbacks. I had Iowa State winning. I had Oregon winning. I had Clemson advancing to the Sweet 16. I had St. John's advancing to the Sweet 16. But I have all 8 of my Elite 8 teams left. So there is still potential, as I was perusing the big money bracket that I'm in of the people who have Florida that are ahead of me. I see an avenue to slip past them and take home the cash. But you had said in one of the texters, and this I started on this rant at 6. I will continue it now. St. John's and Arkansas was not a good game. You tried to come out and tell me that was a great game. Trent, I know you're only 25, but a great game does not have combined 4 of 41 shooting from three-point line and 90 missed shots.
And that is where
defense, that's bad basketball.
And that's where, Mark, I need to pick a different word. You're exactly right. That's not great basketball. In fact, it's bad basketball. However, close game, haymakers from the coaches to all-time greats, right? That aspect of it I love. Now, you've got R.J. Lewis, Big East Player of the Year. He's having a horrible game, doesn't play the last 5 minutes. I get it. There's a lot of reasons to not like that game. But I loved it.
Did Pitino make a mistake benching him that long?
I think so. This is what we closed our show with probably 20 minutes ago. Me and Shep got into it about it. It's your season's on the line. You got to put your best player in there. I don't care that he's 3 of 17. Your offense is horrendous. It ain't like you run 10 deep and you got 3 better options on the bench to go get you a bucket. Get him in there.
And that's where I think the Florida Gators, and I'm curious your take. I think, and I picked Florida to win the tournament before it began. So I expect them to be here, but they're going to have a hell of a game with Maryland. But before we get to that, they were pressed by UConn. UConn played certainly one of their best defensive efforts of the season by everybody that follows this sport closely. They had not seen UConn bear down on defense the way they did against the Gators yesterday. I think it's big for a team to play their B game and win in a tournament. You could say the same thing about Sparty and what they did, but they're a 2 seed and they still have a lot of work to do. But the Gators, to me, the Gators and Duke, and I think by the predictions and by the brackets, more people pick Duke and Florida to win the tournament than anyone else. So for the Gators to get through a game where they didn't have their best effort, didn't get the type of offensive performance that they're used to and still were able to get a win. I think it's critically important for the Gators. Do you agree with that, Trent?
I totally agree with that, and I would actually throw Auburn in that bucket too. Auburn, I thought, was the least impressive 1 seed from the first weekend when you look at both games. Alabama State, obviously it was no issue in the big picture, but they just kind of struggled to get out of the gate a little bit. But Florida, you're exactly right. The reason I'll give them a little bit more credit here is because, yes, it's an 8 seed, but it's UConn. They haven't lost in 2 years. So to be able to just get that proverbial monkey off your back, or not fall victim to the trendy potential upset there to the back-to-back champs. And obviously Dan Hurley forgot how to lose, evidently, because I don't know what that was after the game yesterday. But you're exactly right. Sometimes you gotta, until you see it happen, until it's proven, it's okay to not always trust a team. And we've seen that with St. John's now at this point. So credit to the Gators. I thought they looked incredible in that UConn game, especially last 5-6 minutes. Because, UConn was in control for most of that game.
They really were. And, Dan Hurley thinks the refs took it from him. I thought the Gators took it from him in the last 5 minutes. And obviously a big win for them. If I were to ask you, which team seeded 3 or lower makes the Final Four? Because I only have 1-3 getting to the Elite Eight. If you were to look at this tournament and look at a 3 or lower seed advancing to the Final Four, where would you go?
That is a great question because, like you, I don't even know if there's a great answer here. It's probably Arizona is the right answer, but I'll tell you what, Purdue right now, and for how much crap I gave Purdue last year, they've got a senior guard. They've got a senior guard that's their best player, and he hasn't played particularly well in this tournament yet. So I like Purdue. I like Arizona. I don't like Michigan in that instance because I think they'd have to play Sparty should they get past Auburn, right? So it's kind of hard to pick them. Not going with BYU. Curious what your thoughts are. 3 seed or lower.
Texas Tech's the team that I've eyeballed. I actually had Texas Tech beating St. John's and getting to Florida, but I didn't think there would be one before the tournament, and there's been nothing that's happened in the tournament that makes me think that they'll get there. Although what's interesting is that Kentucky's beaten Tennessee already twice. I know how hard it is to beat a team 3 times in a season, but even if Kentucky were to get past Tennessee, then that's Houston. And Kentucky, to me, Kentucky and Alabama are similar, and that they like to roll it out. They like to play. They like to get up and down the court.
Fast pace, yep.
And sometimes defense becomes something that they talk about and don't actually do. And I think if you want to roll the balls out against Houston, good luck.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
This isn't the normal Houston team that plays in the mud and wants to play a game in the 60s. This Houston team can score, and they can play whatever style you want. And, I thought the Houston-Gonzaga game was a solid game. And the Zags gave Houston all they wanted. Houston able to pull away. And so Kentucky's, I think, going to be a popular choice because they've beaten Tennessee twice, but I don't know about their style rolling them out with Houston if they get to the Elite Eight.
That's a good point you bring up because when we're answering these questions, we should probably actually look at the matchups, and Purdue has to play Houston. Do I think Purdue's going to beat Houston? No. Arizona, who I mentioned, they got to play Duke now, who I think has been the most impressive team top to bottom in this tournament.
Agreed.
So that stuff has to come into account. The reason I'm not high on Michigan is obviously, like I said, they got to play Auburn first. Should they get through them, they got to play Sparty, another team that's beaten that team twice in the season, So,
but that's where do you go? Is it hard to beat it? In Kentucky's case, is it hard to beat a team 3 times in a year? If Michigan were to advance and Sparty were to advance, can Sparty beat Michigan for a 3rd time in a year? The one thing that I'm interested in the Michigan-Auburn game is that, and I've said it all along, Michigan's got great size. They do turn it over a ton, but they've got the size to hang defensively, to hang underneath, to not allow Auburn to get a ton of offensive rebounds and to limit their second chance points, which I think Auburn is very good at. And to your point earlier, Trent, Auburn's not played particularly well so far in this tournament. We all know they lost 3 of 4 entering the tournament.
That's a good point, Mark, because Creighton's big fella, Kalkbrenner, he actually gave Auburn some problems in the first half. Obviously, Auburn pulled away a little bit, but you talk about Michigan's size. I totally agree. I think they've got the best front court maybe left in the field. And those guys, my big concern for them was their rebounding ability or lack thereof. They out-rebounded Texas A&M. They went in and out-rebounded an SEC school. That's impressive to me.
I thought that was a fascinating game in this regard. It showed me at least where the SEC and Big Ten are. Big Ten is not a conference that gets pushed around. And Michigan's typically not a team with these big guys that gets pushed around. A&M bullied them, I thought, in the first half. And Michigan answered in the second half, got tougher and got better. And the big fella down low was great in the second half where he was getting knocked on his ass in the first half.
Yeah, and that's the other interesting thing about Michigan is they've got the two twin towers, but they play such different styles of basketball. Vlad Golden's the bruiser. He's down low. And Danny Wolf likes to dribble. Sometimes he does a little too much with the ball at the top of the key. So Michigan, I think they can give Auburn all they can handle. I just trust the Tigers to get it done.
Miller and Moulton with a little Trent Balley filling in here in the bonus hour. Thanks so much for listening. Vote in the poll question, Miller_Moulton on X. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has the look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, Sonny, it's snowing right now in Grand Rapids. I don't know about Gaylord, but Adam, been having fun betting on race to 10 in a lot of these games. You find out within 5 minutes whether you win your bet or not. It's fun. You don't have to wait the whole game. MSU hockey is rolling, Mark.
Yeah, what do they get the 1 overall seed?
I think so.
Or they got a 1 seed, right?
Yeah, they got a 1 seed. They're in Toledo, I believe. Oh no, Sonny, not close. I mean, it snowed here in late April before.
No, Grand Rapids gets that lake effect snow. They get snow all the damn time.
Last week we got to 70, but here we are on a Monday with flurries.
Oh, it's just flurries. That's no big deal.
Yeah, no, it's not going to accumulate, but it's, it's something. It's enough.
Hey, you know that tip-off college basketball tournament they have down here, Trent, right?
Yeah.
Michigan State and North Carolina are coming this year.
All right, then I'll be there. You know I'll be there.
Oh, of course you will. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Come see you guys and watch some basketball. I don't know how you feel about Dan Hurley saying all that stuff. I think he has become so unlikable so fast.
I think it's great for college basketball.
That's also true, but I think two things can be true. I
agree with you 100%.
Yeah. It's good for the sport because he's got flair and stuff, but, I mean, dude, you got to be a little classier than that. My goodness.
Don't think they've announced it yet.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, the bonus hour. Thanks so much for listening. We've pulled a fast one on you today. David had an appointment that he could not change until after the show, so he snuck out early on a Monday morning. But instead of leaving me flying solo by myself for the final 60 minutes, Trent Balley, who used to produce this show and now is up in Michigan producing a morning show, a 3-hour show that makes him available for the bonus hour. And Trent is joining us for the final hour. And we were just discussing during the break, and we talked about it a little bit on the show. But Dan Hurley, after losing to Florida, walking down the tunnel, and it's all posted on X, you can hear the whole comments. He was not very happy with the officiating and basically said his team got blanked. We all know what blanked means. And he let Baylor know that I hope you don't get blanked the way we just got blanked by the referees. And then proceeded to go up for his post-game presser, and his rage had turned to tears about the effort that his team had put on. We got the whole scope of emotions for Dan Hurley. You made the comment that he is becoming incredibly unlikable. Is that a good thing for college basketball?
I think it's a great thing for college basketball, and I'm someone who loves college basketball, so anything that's going to get more eyeballs for the sport is not a bad thing, certainly. You got to learn how to lose again, man. I mean, I know you haven't lost in 3 years here, but you can't be walking into the tunnel saying stuff like that. I mean, you want to complain about officiating, go for it. I'll give him a little bit of a pass because it was clearly just emotional. But you have to know, this isn't 1985. This is going to get videoed. It's going to be plastered everywhere, and it's a bad look for him, I think.
And I don't think he much cares about the bad look. And that's one of the reasons that I like him, is that he's unapologetic for the way that it's genuine. You may not like anything about him, but it's genuine. I don't believe that there's shtick there. And I think sometimes with coaches, there's a little shtick, and they become a persona. Now, he's been this way all year. You go back to the Maui Invitational when they lost 3 games. He was angry as a hornet there. He was blaming officials there. This act all year long has not changed.
No, he's been this way. He's consistent with it. So you're right. You got to give him credit for at least being consistent. He's not a phony. I just think, the yelling at fans, the over animation on the sidelines, it's not for everybody. And when you lose and you decide to be a sore loser about it, I think that over emotion is amplified a little extra in a negative way as opposed to a positive thing. But overall, Mark, I'm with you. It's good for the sport.
And he's kind of the face of the sport right now. I mean, back-to-back titles, obviously they won't win one this year. But when you look at the other great coaches, the first digits of 6 and the second one might be getting up there as well in a lot of cases. I mean, who would you say, and you follow this sport more closely than I do, who are the great young coaches in the sport?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, young is all relative to who the oldest great coaches are, right? We're talking Pitino, we're talking Tom Izzo, that sort of stuff. I think Greg McDermott's a great coach. I don't know how old he is. I mean, he's probably in his 50s. I think, Shaka Smart's a really solid young coach. Buzz Williams, a solid young coach. I think Todd Golden's going to be a household name.
That's where I was going. I mean, I think the Gators have who knows how the offseason's going to go when you go back to the allegations that were put on Todd Golden. And I'm wondering if the national media will try to, in some way, shape, or form, bring these stories back up. But I mean, it wasn't too long ago that a student filed a Title IX complaint saying that he was harassing her and sending lewd pictures. This seemed to have been a cut and dry case. The university wiped their hands. Golden has said he's not doing anything until the season's over. What he does will be interesting to me because I wonder how long if that cloud's done hanging over him, if that's completely done. But we all know, while it was a story in Florida back in November, the national media had a little time with it. Usually, if not this week, if the Gators get past next week, people start digging, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if this story resurfaces between now and the Final Four.
And that would be very unfortunate because, if you're strictly basketball, he's done a hell of a job this year. You don't want any of the extracurricular stuff to even come into the fold. But we've seen other coaches deal with it. They all have skeletons in the closet, right? Will Wade, who's, he's made headlines. He's had to NC State. We obviously know about Rick Pitino. So it's not unprecedented, but it's unfortunate.
Nope. And Richard Pitino, another young coach that's done a really good job that will probably be somewhere else. We talked about the fact that the Villanova job has not yet been filled. Does that mean they're going after a coach that's still in the tournament, or is Richard Pitino, are we going to find out, is he going to be the guy Villanova is going after here in the next 48 hours, which we should have some more clarity on that job. Our poll question today is a very simple one. What word would you use to describe this year's men's basketball tournament? Boring right now, getting 47% of the vote. Predictable, getting 28% of the vote. And entertaining, Trent's vote, getting a quarter of the vote. Now we look ahead to the weekend in the tournament, start trying to figure out how this Final Four is going to shape up. Is there going to be anything other than chalk the rest of the way? Is this the year, the second time that since they've been in San Antonio, that all 4 ones advance? Auburn's looked a little rough, but that really doesn't matter. Now that we're at it's just a total reset. All you have to do is get to this weekend. And I don't think anybody has a lot of faith in Auburn. And I don't think Bruce Pearl has a problem with that, because this is still a really solid team. We look at who they've lost to down the stretch. It was A&M, it was Tennessee, it was Alabama. It wasn't like they were losing to bad teams. But as you said, I think, if we were just to rank the 16 teams right now, if there were a poll today, Duke would get every first place vote.
No doubt. And they've earned it. They've looked, to me, top to bottom, like start to finish, they've had 2 blowouts, right? Whereas Houston's been pushed. Auburn was pushed for a half by Creighton and a half by Alabama State. And if your question mark is, are we going to see chalk the rest of the way? If you just kind of go down without, filling out a whole Sweet 16 bracket here, I've got Auburn, I've got Michigan State. That's a 1 and a 2. I've got Florida, and then I've got Maryland. Well, no, Florida beating Maryland, and then Texas Tech beating Arkansas. And we know that St. John's is the 2. So that entire side of the bracket, to me, is going to be chalk from here on out, to answer your question, which is unfortunate if you want upsets, not unfortunate if you're Mark Miller.
I think BYU will give Alabama a really good game. BYU is a good team, and they can score. And
Alabama there's a contrast in styles there.
But Alabama doesn't like to play defense.
That's true. And when they lose games, that is why. They'll lose high-scoring shootouts that they just can't get stops in.
And BYU got to 91, wasn't it, against Wisconsin?
Yep.
So BYU doesn't have a problem playing games that get to a higher number. I think that could be one of the more entertaining games in the Sweet 16. We had Mike Miller on from Field of 68, and a reminder, if you miss any of the show, go to millerandmoulton.com or any place else you download your podcast to download it. He spoke highly of Arizona. He thinks that their bigs could be a problem for Duke, and looked at that game as a potential roadblock for the Blue Devils before they get to the winner of BYU and Alabama. Right now, as we've said, there's no one that's looked better than Duke.
And I would love to see Duke versus Bama, because I think that would be a high-flying offensive shootout type of game. I think Duke would win it, but I think if we get those two, that has potential, Mark, to be one of the best games of the tournament when it's all said and done.
I think if Tennessee can beat Kentucky, I think Tennessee and Houston, because Tennessee's a really physical team. They also can score. I think, styles make a fight. I think the matchup between Houston and Tennessee could provide a really, really good region final there. Like I said, miss any of the show, go to all the usual suspects or millerandmoulton.com to download. Vote in our poll question, that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day one, and what's on tap? That's next.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Is snoring bothering your spouse? Would you like to sleep in the same bed again? Do you know that snoring can affect your sleep cycle and cause lower testosterone levels? At Sleep Treatment Direct, we have easy solutions. We have a simple laser procedure that can improve snoring in 10 minutes. If you would like to get back in the same bed or are looking for a natural way to treat low testosterone, give us a call at 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Or go to sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Would you turn your camera off on us, Trent?
Sorry, internet got a little dicey there for a second in that last segment.
No worries.
That's my bad. Well, not my bad, but it's my end. You been golfing?
I get a couple days a weekend. I think
Nice.
I only little Wednesday, Friday usually.
Yeah, I had St. John's in the Final Four. That was disappointing. And I knew I just drank the Kool-Aid. I knew that those teams don't ever make it that far.
No, I mean, you were already flirting picking Michigan State to go to the Final Four.
Right. And they're
Michigan
the same
State
team.
and St. John's were both not going to the Final Four.
And they're very similar teams. So you're right.
Oh,
If I can only pick one, just pick State just cause.
Man, I got to tell you, when, watching that game yesterday, when Richardson's not going, I don't know what lineup they put in to score.
Yeah.
It gets, just keep shooting threes, guys. None of them are going in, but just keep chucking them, whatever you do.
It can be a tough watch. They just defend like a son of a bitch, especially when it matters most, and that's why I trust them. End of the half, they are just money on defense.
Boy, there's been a lot of that of games that have been close. And then all of a sudden in the last minute and a half, 2 minutes of the first half, Auburn did it. Alabama did it to Bob Moe a little bit. I mean, it's just.
Yeah. Auburn, what? They were only going to be up 2 at halftime or 4?
Yeah.
And then in the final minute, they went on like a 10-0 run or something crazy.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Now we remember who we are.
Ooh, Sparty gets raft.
Yes! That is awesome. Did they just report that? Or did they just release that?
Yep.
I love Bill Raftery.
Sparty gets the CBS treatment. Sparty and Auburn and Michigan and Ole Miss are the CBS games.
Very nice.
Kevin Harlan, Dan Bonner, and Stan Van Gundy are getting the Gators. Brian Anderson, Jim Jackson, Allie LaForest are getting the Alabama, Arizona, Oregon, and Andrew Carlton or Catalone and Steve Lapis are getting the Kentucky, Houston, Tennessee, Purdue.
Lapis was killing me during the St. John's, Arkansas game. He had no idea what was going on for like a whole stretch there. And I like him. I was just, it was funny. He's talking about a goaltending call like 2 plays later. He's like, you think they're going to go look at that? No, Steve, they can't.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Thanks so much for listening. We pulled a fast one on you today. David had an appointment to get to, so we brought the relief pitcher out of the bullpen with opening day on Thursday. Trent Balley coming in to try to get the close today. They announced the announcing crews for the games this weekend. The Gators are getting the Kevin Harlan, Dan Bonner, Stan Van Gundy group. They will be on TBS for their game Thursday against Maryland. They're the early game. The late game is Arkansas and Texas Tech. CBS will have Alabama and BYU the early game on Thursday. Brian Anderson and Jim Jackson with the call. Oregon and Arizona, the second game there. Sparty and Ole Miss get the early game on Friday. Ian Eagle, Raftery, and Grant Hill, along with Tracy Wolfson on the call. And Andrew Catalon and Steve Lapis, along with Evan Washburn, will be doing the Kentucky-Tennessee game. That is going to be on TBS as well. And then the late game, Purdue and Houston. Michigan-Auburn, the late game on CBS on Friday. Boy, oh boy. I mean, just a quick sidebar for the two guys that are both wearing their Spartan green. If you're watching on twitch.tv or youtube.com, both /Miller and Moulton. I know that Auburn's supposed to win, and Auburn probably will win. A Michigan State regional final for those of us from that part of the world would be sexy as hell.
The state would burn to the ground, either one way or another, no matter who wins. Because Michigan fans love to talk, and Michigan State fans love their hoops.
Well, I think you said that wrong. Michigan fans love to talk, and Michigan State fans like to burn stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, know who you are, know your role.
Damn right.
Cedar Village will be on fire, win or lose. It's an embarrassing thing that we do. Can't stop it. Happened the first time when I was sophomore or a junior there. Michigan State lost in fact, had to be a junior because we beat Michigan when I was a freshman, so I believe it was my junior year, and they lost a close game. And I happened to be at a party close to Senior Village at a fraternity house. And all of a sudden, people are talking about this fire. And me and a couple of guys from the party walked to Cedar Village, which was about a 2-block walk from where this fraternity house was. And there is like a 40-foot bonfire. And people are throwing couches and anything you could imagine in it. And all of a sudden, 2 or 3 morons start pushing a car towards the fire when the young lady who owned the car came running and screaming, yelling, "That's my car!" And fortunately for her and for everybody else, they quit pushing it. Never really said smarts were part of the entrance requirement to be a Michigan State Spartan.
My freshman year, Mark.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Continue.
My freshman year, just quickly, when Michigan State beat Duke to go to the Final Four, Tom Izzo beat Coach K. It's my freshman year, and what a way to get inducted into the Cedar Village tradition. It was very similar to what you just described, but continue.
Yeah, they'll start a fire. They will definitely start a fire. Not proud of it. Certainly not, but that's kind of what you get known for after a few years. Today we start in 1936. The Detroit Red Wings beat the Montreal Maroons 1-0 at 16:30 of the 6th period of overtime. A record Stanley Cup playoff game that lasted 9 periods. Today in 1947, John D. Rockefeller Jr. donates the New York City East River site to the United Nations. Must be nice when you can say, here, why don't you build your United Nations building here in New York City? I've got some extra land. The Dons of San Francisco defeat Iowa 83-71 today in 1956 to go back-to-back with national titles, the University of San Francisco. 1958, Elvis joins the Army. 1962, Cincinnati goes back-to-back. The Bearcats defeat Ohio State by 12 to go back-to-back for Natties. The Kennedy half dollar was issued for the first time today in 1964. 1974, NC State beats Marquette, the first title for the Wolfpack. The first tournament officially designated as the Division I championship.
They'd win their second 9 years later. Jim Valvano.
I actually got back. My order got screwed up today. It's my fault. Cutting and pasting gone awry. I'll go back 2 years. The Godfather was released today in 1972.
Part 1 or part 2? Which is your favorite?
Part 1, but I love the flashbacks in part 2. Those were part of the original novel. All of the flashback scenes, all of the Nevada scenes were new. 1980. Two things of note. The nightly ABC show, The Iran Hostage Crisis, is renamed Nightline. Would turn out to stay that way for quite a long time. And Louisville beats UCLA for Louisville's first title in their first title game. Today in 1989, one of the worst oil spills in U.S. history when the Exxon Valdez runs aground in southern Alaska, an estimated 11 million gallons of oil spilled into the water. 1999, The Matrix premieres. And in 2005, the U.S. version of The Office premieres on NBC TV. Harry Houdini, big fan of The Office?
I love The Office. Yeah, my generation is obsessed with it.
Harry Houdini, Clyde Barrow, like Bonnie and Clyde, Joseph Barbera, Hannah and Barbera, Steve McQueen, the king of cool, Louis Anderson, all would have celebrated birthdays today. Golfer Pat Bradley and designer Tommy Hilfiger are 74. Doug Jarvis is 70. Steve Ballmer, 69. Kelly LeBrock from Weird Science, among other things, is 65. My favorite wrestler of all time, The Undertaker, is 60.
Nice.
Jim Parsons from The Big Bang Theory is 52. Peyton Manning is 49. Golfer Jason Duffner is 48. And Damar Hamlin is 27 years old today.
Time to see life a little bit differently. Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
So for the good today, we go to Atlanta, Georgia, where a non-profit group named Men Opposing Sex Trafficking, or MOST, set a Guinness Book of World Records by playing a continuous basketball game for 121 hours and 3 minutes. 23 players ranged in age from 17 to 64, and they were all required to remain inside the gym for the duration of the attempt, even while taking breaks. Must have had some porta pots courtside there. The final score, because I know you were all wondering at this point what the final score was, 13,096 to 12,972.
That is a world record that I would gladly love to participate in. That sounds like fun.
I could see you doing that.
I would love that. That would be a lot of fun.
A little cat nap on the bench.
Then get back to transition defense. There you go.
For the bad, we go to Fort Myers, where employees at the dollar store on College Parkway found a surprise. Apparently, there were some old coolers left outside, and someone had attempted to steal wire from them. When the store manager showed up, apparently the back area was left a mess. No signs of forced entry, however. And apparently, all's well that ends well. We'll find out what happens with the wire. And finally, the ugly. We go to Mexico, where thousands of tourists flock to the pyramid known as El Castillo for the spring equinox. 2 people attempted to climb the pyramid and get past the security that were there, and they were met by some angry followers. Apparently, one of the offenders, a 38-year-old German, was confronted by the crowd, was hit in the head. It drew blood. And apparently some of the people were even shouting that he be sacrificed, in allusion to the human and animal sacrifices that the Maya once carried out at the highest point of the pyramid. Luckily for him, he was just arrested and not sacrificed. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, Monday, March the 24th. If there is college hoop tonight, it's not anything that you care about. I've got to be really honest with you. You probably got, do we have NIT games tonight? No, nothing men's wise tonight. The women's tournament is going on tonight and today with games all day in the round of 32. Number 2, NC State plays the early game. They're actually hosting Michigan State. Texas, a 1 seed, plays. And Connecticut plays this evening against South Dakota State. USC, the late game against Mississippi State. Full slate of action in the association tonight. The Lakers are making their trip to Florida. We'll talk more about that. And Lakers and Golden State making their trip to Florida. We'll talk more about Golden State's trip as they play the Heat tomorrow. But the Lakers are in Orlando taking on the Magic. The Red Hot Phoenix Suns are hosting Milwaukee. Minnesota playing Indiana. That's probably a close game. Quick question for you, Trent.
What's up?
I got all over Moulton earlier in the starting 5 when he was talking about the division between Atlanta and Detroit for the 6-7. I'm like, wait a minute. Detroit's far closer to the 4 than Atlanta is closer to the 6. If I were to ask you right now, what seed do your beloved Detroit Pistons, who I, for the record, have divorced as a team, where will the Pistons end up at the end of the season?
My money's on the 6th seed. And until last weekend, they actually had a real shot at 4. They still kind of do. But the problem is the Pacers have already beaten you 3 times this year. I like the Pistons as the 6, and I actually think they'd give the Knicks a series.
I think they'll give whomever they play
win that series
because they play hard they've learned to play hard, but that loss to Washington certainly was one that probably took them out of the 4-5, but just wanted to get your take on it. 4 games tonight in the National Hockey League. Probably the most important is Columbus at the Islanders. Both of those teams out of the playoffs if they started today, but both within a shot of the wild card right now. The Rangers are 1 point behind the Canadiens. The Islanders are 2 points behind the Canadiens, and the Blue Jackets are 4 points behind the Canadiens. For those holding out hope that the Detroit Red Wings will make the playoffs, I wouldn't if I were you. If you look at their schedule, I think it's going to be impossible for Detroit to make the playoffs. But if they are going to, they're going to have to learn how to win on the road, and they play the Hockey Club in Utah tonight.
You going to stay up for that one, Mark? 9 o'clock puck drop?
I'll watch the first period, but not much more than that. Getting up getting up early for these shows takes its toll. And after a late night Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I cannot see myself watching Detroit at Utah until 11:30 tonight. I don't see it happening.
Especially when the Wings haven't given you a whole lot of reason to watch as of late.
And I'm one of those that I'm glass half full with them. I still enjoy watching them. They're young, they're getting better, but they're not going to make the postseason this year again. And Yzerman's going to have to figure it out next year. Or people in Michigan, they already are calling for their head. And in the CBI, FGCU plays Army at 2:00 in one of those insignificant college basketball tournaments if you want to check it out. But The big sports story tonight, man, I wish I had David with me right now. The TGL finals begin tonight. The New York Golf Club against the Atlanta Drive. I couldn't tell you anybody that's on either team because I have no idea what the rosters are. But match 1 is tonight at 9. Match 2 is tomorrow at 7, with match 3 immediately following, if necessary.
Hold the presses.
Got that right. TGL Golf. Moulton loves when I talk about that. Great show lined up for you tomorrow, like we always have on a Tuesday. David Sampson and Pat Kerwin will join the show, so we'll talk opening day extensively with David Sampson, and we'll get you caught up on everything you may have missed in the National Football League with Pat Kerwin as we're well through the initial portion of free agency, and now a lot of more one-year deals, and we'll start looking ahead to the draft. That's not too far away. Trent, thanks for giving us an hour this morning. Always appreciate your time. Have a great rest of your day, my friend.
Thanks, Mark. Always fun talking to you guys.
Miller and Moulton back at it tomorrow with David Sampson and Pat Kerwin.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and 1 replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122. or nolanagency.com. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. I feel tired, sluggish, and just not myself. I'm gaining weight, my energy is low, and I've lost my drive. Could it be low testosterone?
Absolutely. Testosterone naturally declines over time, but you don't have to accept it. Low T can affect your energy, strength, mood, and focus. But here's the good news. Testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, can help restore your vitality and get you back to feeling your best. Imagine waking up strong, sharp, and energized, ready to take on the day like you used to. At Revitalize Clinic, we specialize in physician-guided, American-made TRT designed just for you.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. Feel like yourself again. Testosterone replacement therapy, because your best years aren't behind you, they're just getting started. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239